Chapter 465. After Tantalian closed the door, she condensed another barrier. Only then did she let out a long sigh of relief with a flushed face. They won't peek, right? After Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu arrived at the hall, their faces were all serious. They directly sat down cross-legged with their backs facing the steering wheel in the room. No one spoke, but they were all a little nervous. Especially when they thought of what Tantalian might do next. A faint blush appeared on their faces. 5 minutes passed, the three still didn't say a word, but they couldn't help but carefully sense each other's aura. 10 minutes later, Xia Yuyu looked at Chen Shui, then looked at Tantalian, and finally couldn't help but speak first. Do you think Little Lien and Haohao's Phoenix inheritance will work? It's already been 10 minutes. I don't know if it has any effect. I'm so impatient. Aren't you worried at all? Who says we're not worried, but we can't peek, right? Helian Wuzi said, and looked at Chen Shui at the same time. After a slight pause, she said, Sister Shui, did you already peek? No. Don't talk nonsense. Why would I peek? Chen Shui blushed, frowned and glared at Helian Wuzi, pretending to be angry. Then why don't you look worried at all? Helian Wuzi frowned. That's right, Sister Shui. If you want to look, then look. We won't tell Little Lien. What's the situation now? Xia Yuyu also said. The two of them were sure that Chen Shui had already peeked. It couldn't be helped. During this period of contact, the two of them already knew Chen Shui's abnormal soul perception. Even compared to Chen Hao, it wasn't the slightest bit weaker. If Chen Shui really wanted to peek, whether it was Little Lien or them, they definitely wouldn't be able to detect it. You too. I really didn't look. How am I not worried? But what's the use of being worried? Do you want to peek? I'm just a little impatient, me too. But we don't have such strong perception. If we peek, I'm afraid it will affect Little Lien. That's not good. When Xia Yuyu and Helian Wuzi heard Chen Shui's words, they naturally wouldn't say that they wanted to peek. They only said that they were anxious. So you want to peek? I have a way to let you guys peek without Little Lien noticing. Chen Shui said. What method? The two of them hurriedly asked. My psychic mirror. I think I left it in my room. Chen Shumang whispered in embarrassment. Sister Shui, you're so sinister. You don't want to watch anymore, do you? Hearing Xia Yuyu actually call her sinister, Chen Shui angrily glared at Xia Yuyu's pure and clear eyes. She was indeed a little embarrassed. However, she was doing this for the sake of Chen Hao. After all, her mother had placed a restriction on her body. For the time being, no matter what, she could not help Chen Hao. As for Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu, they shouldn't have this problem. However, Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, and Xia Yuyu were all virgins and didn't have any experience in this area. What if the two of them didn't know what to do? She didn't have any experience to pass on. Even if she did, how could she have the nerve to pass it on? As for Tantalian, she was considered an expert among the four of them. She had at least experienced it once, right? Such an opportunity to observe was a great opportunity to learn. I want to watch. Sister Shui, when we activate it, will we be discovered by Xiaolian? She won't. I've placed a concealment restriction on the psychic mirror. Moreover, Xiaolian has already immersed herself in communicating with Chen Hao. Even if you try to sense it, she won't discover it. At most, she'll discover it afterwards. I'll contact you. Quickly connect. Xia Yuyu impatiently took out her psychic mirror. The three great beauties actually gathered together as if they were thieves. Even when Chen Shui used her perception to secretly look, her heartbeat quickened. After all, her perception could only sense the circulation of Tantalian's aura and roughly simulate the scene. However, it wasn't visible to the naked eye. However, the psychic mirror was different. As for Helian Wuzi and Xia Yuyu, they were even more nervous. Their eyes stared fixedly at the psychic mirror and even held their breath. After Helian Wuzi sent out the signal, Chen Shui's powerful divine sense directly penetrated into the room and connected to Helian Wuzi's signal request. The psychic mirror in Helian Wuzi's hand instantly emitted rays of faint blue light. A clear image appeared in the eyes of the three people. The three great beauties all stared with their eyes wide open. They held their breaths and stared with their eyes straight. The three little faces instantly flushed red. They saw that Tantai Lian and Chen Hao were already completely naked. Tantai Lian's graceful and exquisite body was fully revealed. Her charm was fully displayed. Her entire body flickered with resplendent faint blue flames which enveloped the completely naked Chen Hao. The two of them sat cross-legged facing each other and slowly circled in the air. Seeing the completely naked Tantai Lian, the three girls were already extremely shy. Their heartbeats strangely accelerated to a terrifying degree. Not to mention seeing the completely naked Chen Hao. Tantai Lian's graceful and exquisite body caused them to exclaim in admiration in their hearts. At the same time, they were also secretly comparing. It had to be said that at any time, a woman's mentality of comparison existed. Especially in the aspect of beauty, it was even more so. And Chen Hao's streamlined muscles, full of masculinity and beauty, caused the three girls to stop breathing. This wasn't because the three girls were lustful, nor was it because they saw Chen Hao's body and were overflowing with lust. It was merely the attraction of yin and yang between them and the man they love. Even though the current Chen Hao's aura was still terrifyingly weak, it didn't affect the visual impact he brought to the three girls. So ugly. When Xia Yuyu's gaze couldn't help but carefully size up Chen Hao's body from head to toe, and when it moved to a certain place, this innocent girl couldn't help but open her mouth and make a sound. What's ugly? Chen Shui and Helian Wuzi both looked at Xia Yuyu curiously. Here. Xia Yuyu actually pointed at a certain place on the psychic mirror's image and said bluntly, It's indeed ugly. Helian Wuzi slightly frowned, her face flushed red, but she resisted laughing and said very seriously, PFFF. Chen Shui couldn't help but laugh out loud. She looked at Xia Yuyu with a speechless face and said, Yuyu, you shouldn't not know what that is, right? What? Xia Yuyu asked in astonishment. PFFF. Helian Wuzi finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. Her originally cold little face looked at Xia Yuyu with eyes full of speechlessness. Even though Chen Shui and Helian Wuzi were unmarried girls, how could they not have seen the difference between a boy and a girl in their living environment since they were young? It's just that after they grew up, they didn't see it. But Xia Yuyu was a girl favored by the heavens, and was obviously pure to the point of idiocy. This is the difference between a man and a woman. When the real yin and yang dual cultivation, it's necessary. I also don't understand too much. Let's see, Xiaolian should understand more than us. If Chen Hao was awake at this moment, and knew that a man and a woman were using his most precious thing to discuss beauty and ugliness, he would be so depressed that he would vomit 3 liters of blood. At this moment I don't even feel a fart. I'm completely immersed in a mysterious state. How could it not be ugly? That's the Rui Jingu Bang. Right now it's just a little listless and listless. Once it displays its peerless might and peerless style, who would dare to say it's ugly? Whoever says it will be served with the Jingu Bang. In the room, Tantai Lian wholeheartedly immersed herself in the arduous task of awakening Chen Hao. She only thought that Chen Shui might be spying on her, but she could only ignore it. After all, no matter how strong her perception was, she still couldn't really see what she was doing. Chen Shui could only rely on her imagination. If she knew that her every move was being monitored by 6 big eyes, she probably wouldn't be able to enter the state at all. Unfortunately, after using an entire half an hour, Tantai Lian had activated the Phoenix Inheritance and the heavenly flames of Nirvana with limitless possibilities. Moreover, she had also raised her emotions to the point where she was almost burning with desire. However, Chen Hao still didn't give her any response. This kind of thing could only be completed when both parties were on the same page. Because this wasn't a simple exhilarating, but a fusion of yin and yang. Without absolute passion and excitement, it was impossible to awaken Chen Hao's soul, not to mention a true fusion of spirit and body. Otherwise, Tantai would only need to use a little bit of her energy to make certain things display their power. After an hour, Tantai finally helplessly stopped activating her mind and energy. Her essence, energy, and spirit seemed to have been burned and withered. She was extremely weak. After putting on her clothes, she helped Chen Hao, who was motionless like a corpse, put on his clothes. Creak, Tantai gently pushed open the door. Her face was slightly red as she peeked out. She saw 3 women sitting cross-legged with their backs facing the door. They seemed to be immersed in cultivation. "I'm done." Tantai let out a slight sigh of relief and said softly. After a while, Chen Shui and the other 2 acted as if they were done cultivating. They floated to Tantai side and said, "Done? How is it?" Tantai shook her head and said, "It's useless. He didn't have any reaction at all." You try it." "Ah? I'd better not try. If you can't do it, then I can't either." Hearing Tantai words, Xia Yuyu's face immediately turned red and she said nervously, "How would you know if you don't try?" Tantai said, "Even if you try it, it definitely won't work. The ruins that Hao and I entered were only of a very low level. The cultivation method that we studied together was only of the innate realm. Now that we're all in the blessed realm, what effect can it have? It really won't work." Xia Yuyu said, "Yuyu, this has nothing to do with the realm of the cultivation method. What's important is the degree of compatibility between your souls. That's right. Why don't you go to the cultivation room? Chen Hao once cultivated in the cultivation room, and there are remnants of his aura. Perhaps it will be useful?" Chen Shui stared at Xia Yuyu and said. At the same time, she sent a message to her, "Yuyu, this time we promise not to peek. That should be fine, right? If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation." Chapter 466. Xia Yuyu agreed in the end, but she didn't go to the cultivation room. Instead, she asked Chen Shui to take away the psychic mirror. After checking it several times and confirming that there were no secrets, she started to activate the 9 revolutions Earth-Yin technique. After all, her dual cultivation with Chen Hao wasn't a true fusion of spirit and body. Even if it was sensed, it was nothing compared to Tantai. The 9 revolutions Earth-Yin technique was too low level for the current Xia Yu. Now that she was activating it, both its power and her comprehension were countless times stronger. Waves after waves of mental shock, as well as the telepathy that she and Chen Hao had comprehended together, surged into Chen Hao's mind like a tide. But Chen Hao's mind was like refined steel. No matter how tender Xia Yuyu was, he didn't react at all. When her essence, energy, and spirit were exhausted, Xia Yuyu had to give up. "What should we do? We've tried, but there's nothing we can do. We can only wait until the 3 realms are rebuilt and the passageway is restored. My mother and your master should have a way. Let's take turns for the next 2 days. Even if we can't wake him up, we have to instill energy into him. Right now, he doesn't seem to have any ability to recover." Chen Shui was at her wits' end. That's the only way. The 4 of them knew that Chen Hao's life wasn't in danger. The only thing they were worried about was the impact of Chen Hao's soul injury on his cultivation. In the cultivation world, there were many geniuses who declined due to soul injuries. Just like how Chen Hao said soul fighter during the war, the 4 girls had no idea. Central Continent, Limitless Demon Palace, Heartbroken Palace. Dead, dead, all dead, all dead, all dead. Boom. Fan Suixin punched a mountain peak angrily and turned it into dust. Fan Suixin's towering anger made her almost crazy. In the past few months, Soul Fighter's astonishing improvement was already on the verge of entering the ranks of the top geniuses. Fan Suixin believed that Soul Fighter would definitely be able to amaze the world in the upcoming Wuji Elite Academy qualifiers and win glory and fortune for Heartbroken Hall. They were all dead. Not only was Soul Fighter dead, but all the genius disciples of Heartbroken Palace who followed Soul Fighter were dead as well. Chunhao! Boom! 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 Under Fan Suixin's angry roar, the giant mountain peaks were directly destroyed. The land within tens of thousands of miles of Broken Heart Hall was shaking. Countless experts of Broken Heart Hall stared at the Mad Hall Master in silence, their hearts trembling with fear. Vice Palace Master, what happened to make the Palace Master so angry? Several old men quietly came to the Deputy Palace Master's side and asked through telepathy with a shocked expression. Soul Fighter is dead, what? The old men's eyes widened in shock. Not only is Soul Fighter dead, all of the genius disciples who followed him are dead as well. How is this possible? Did the Celestial Venerable T? These old men were the higher-ups of the Broken Heart Hall, so they knew everything about Soul Fighter, the genius disciple. When they heard the Vice Palace Master's words, they immediately thought of the Celestial Venerable. The Vice Palace Master shook his head and sighed. It's Chunhao. Chunhao? Didn't he die in the relic? If he really died in the relic, this wouldn't happen. 2 days ago, his name appeared on the list of Elite Academy X's qualifiers. Didn't the registration end 2 months ago? He's one of the elite guardians of the Alliance. Before the start of the tournament, as long as you're in the manifestation realm, you can register at any time. Vice Palace Master, all of you come here. Yes. The experts who were whispering to each other suddenly heard Fan Suixin's voice, which resounded throughout Heartbroken Palace. They hurriedly flew over. Gather all the details of Chunhao killing Soul Fighter and the other disciples of Heartbroken Palace, as well as the super genius disciples from other palaces that Soul Fighter invited. Report it to the headquarters and report it to the palaces that those super genius disciples belong to. Remember, all information on Chunhao must be detailed. I don't believe that Limitless Demon Palace will allow him to grow. Yes. Vice Palace Master, once the Eastern Continent's cultivation world recovers, rush over immediately to understand the situation. Yes, Palace Master. 3 days later. We won. We won. Ha ha. Boom boom boom, countless experts of the immortal Tao in the creation realm stared at the violent ripples in the air and let out cheers that reverberated throughout the world. The 3 realms and the Milky Way, under the cooperation of all the experts and the contracts signed by the 3 Daos, the 3 realms were redivided and a new boundary was formed. It was only at this moment that the real victory was here. All the major chambers of commerce had regained their communications with the outside world. The 3 teleportation portals to the outside world were restored. Immediately, countless cultivators in the Eastern Continent who were anxiously waiting received the news at the same time. Everyone thought that they had heard wrong. How was it possible that the Immortal Path had won and obtained a territory of 20 million kilometers? Chunhao! Chunhao! It's Chunhao! In all the information that was sent back, there were a few names with Chunhao as the leader. Chunhao, Chunshui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu and Tantailian. Chunhao's astonishing battle prowess had shaken the entire Eastern Continent's cultivation world. Chunhao, who had been the number 1 cultivator among the younger generation of the Eastern Continent's Immortal Path, had once again become the focus of the entire Immortal Path in just a few short years. The intersect competition could not be compared to this time. A manifestation realm cultivator had suppressed a half-step human immortal, turned the tide, and saved the Eastern Continent's Immortal Path. What did that mean? When the news reached the Eastern Continent's Immortal Path, the 10 sects issued a joint order to hold a celebration at the stargazing sect in 3 days. All cultivators above the primordial spirit realm were eligible to participate. All qualified cultivators hurried to the stargazing sect as soon as possible, wanting to pay their respects to Chun Hao, the man who'd changed the fate of the Eastern Continent's immortal path. The disciples who didn't have the right to participate in the celebration were hopping mad. They asked their senior brothers and sisters to record the event with crystals. The stargazing sect disciples who'd been forcibly disbanded were so moved that tears welled up in their eyes. As for the stargazing sect disciples who'd announced in advance that they'd severed ties with the stargazing sect, they quietly went into hiding. They didn't dare return, nor did they have the face to do so. However, when Xiaoling Feng and the 10 sects issued the news, they had no idea that something had happened to Chun Hao. Stargazing sect, Chun Hao's peak. Several important figures of the Eastern Continent, including Yuan Tairan, Xiaoling Feng, and the other sect leaders of the 10 sects, had gathered at the entrance to Chun Hao's palace. Secret arts, 800 years of lifespan, soul damage. Xiaoling Feng and the others stared at Chen Shui and the other girls, their expressions turning from joy to solemnity. We should have thought of this. No matter how strong the numinous treasure set is, how strong can it be? He's only at the early stage manifestation realm. No matter how strong his talent and battle prowess are, there's a limit to it. How can he defeat a half-step human immortal? Xiaoling Feng's brows were deeply furrowed as he stared blankly at the palace. His gaze seemed to penetrate the palace gates and see Chun Hao, who'd fallen into a deep sleep. Everyone, this news must rot in your stomach. No one can know about it. Chun Hao burned his lifespan for the sake of the immortal Tao, and his soul was severely damaged. He's sacrificed too much because of this. He may very well lose the treatment that belongs to him as a top genius. Sigh, do you understand what I mean? Understood, Xiaoling Feng. But how long can this be hidden? The world of cultivation is cruel. Everything depends on one's strength. His soul was severely damaged, especially after burning 800 years of his lifespan. In everyone's eyes, no matter how talented Chun Hao was, he'd become a good-for-nothing. In the cruel world of cultivation, which force would be willing to waste countless resources and energy to cultivate a disciple who was destined to have no future? Of course, they knew why Xiaoling Feng wanted them to keep it a secret. He didn't want the Wuji Immortal Palace and the others to know about Chun Hao's soul damage. Only in this way could Chun Hao continue to receive resources. But even if they could hide it for a while, they couldn't hide it forever. After a while, when Chun Hao's cultivation progress was mediocre, the truth would be revealed. At that time, Chun Hao would fall from heaven to hell and become mediocre. We'll hide it for as long as we can. This is the only thing we can do for him. Now, as the #1 sect leader of the 10 immortal Tao sects, I declare that no matter what happens to Chun Hao in the future, he, his family and friends, as well as the star-picking sect, will be protected by the immortal Tao sects. Without him, the immortal Tao sects wouldn't exist today. As long as he's willing, he can use any of our resources, even if it's a waste. Do you have any objections? No! I don't have any objections. But all the resources of the immortal Tao sects in the Eastern Continent are already of very little use to him. He's already in the manifestation realm. It's good that you don't have any objections. Whether it's useful or not, we can only leave it to the heavens. Xiaoling Feng said, sweeping his gaze across the crowd. Then, he looked at Xia Yuyu and said, Yuyu, Grandfather announces today that you're officially Chun Hao's Tao companion. When he wakes up, Grandfather will hold a wedding ceremony for you. Grandfather. Xia Yuyu's face turned red. It seemed that she couldn't accept Xiaoling Feng's change. Are you not willing? No. Xia Yuyu said, Grandfather, we've already discussed it. We'll immediately bring Hao back to the central continent and ask Master for help. No. Absolutely not. Xiaoling Feng hastily said. Sect Master Xia, why not? Don't tell me you have a way? Chen Shui couldn't help but ask. Looking at Chen Shui's sharp gaze, Xiaoling Feng helplessly shook his head. We don't have a way. You can go back to the central continent, but you can't tell anyone that Chen Hao burned 800 years of his lifespan and his soul was heavily injured. Although you've been in the eastern continent for a few years, you're still young and don't understand the cruelty of the cultivation world. Forgive me for being blunt, but if you really tell the immortal reverends that Chen Hao's soul was heavily injured, I'm afraid that Chen Hao will lose the qualification to be nurtured by the limitless immortal palace. I know that the two immortal reverends are very good to you, but that's all because of your talent. What if you lose your talent? The chances of someone with a heavily injured soul being able to step into the worldly immortal realm is close to zero. No matter how good the two immortal reverends are to Chen Hao, they won't waste any more time on him. Impossible. My master. My mother is definitely not that kind of person. Chen Shui's face slightly changed. Yes, master treats Chen Hao better than us. She definitely won't ignore Chen Hao. Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu and Tantai Lian also didn't agree with Xiaoling Feng's words. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 467. That's because of the potential that Chen Hao has shown. You're too naive. Myriad Pill Pavilion's Pavilion Master said. Sect Master Xia and the rest of us have been in the central continent before and have seen the fate of many fallen geniuses. If you really want to help Chen Hao, you can expose the news that Chen Hao's soul is seriously injured. If you want to help him, you have to rely on yourselves. Hide it for as long as you can, and there may be a glimmer of hope. That's right. Also, you have to talk to the disciples of Wuji Immortal Palace who know about this. Chen Hao has helped them a lot this time, and each of them has been given a spiritual treasure. I believe it shouldn't be a problem for them to hide it for a while, Xiaoling Feng said. Under the persistent persuasion of the crowd, the four girls began to feel uneasy. Moreover, through the discussion with the crowd, the four girls understood that even immortal venerables didn't have a good way to heal the soul. The only way to heal the soul was to find rare and precious spiritual herbs, spiritual pills, and powerful dual cultivation method. Subsequently, the four women found Jiang Hai, Huang Wenxiu, and the other disciples of Wuji Immortal Palace and explained the situation tactfully. Jiang Hai and Huang Wenxiu naturally wouldn't have any problems. As for the others, they were also hot-blooded young people who hadn't been assimilated by the cruelty of the cultivation world. They also had a pure heart and naturally agreed to keep Chen Hao's secret. Under the leadership of Jiang Hai and Huang Wenxiu, they swore a poison oath. Although some of them had some thoughts, they could only bury it in their hearts. In their opinion, even if they didn't say anything, Chen Hao's situation would be exposed sooner or later. They just needed to maintain the treatment for a while. On the eastern continent's Immortal Path's teleportation array to Emerald Smoke City, a bright light flashed. The unconscious Chen Hao, the four women, and the people of Wuji Immortal Palace disappeared from the teleportation array. The eastern continent's Immortal Path celebration, as well as Chen Nan, Chen Yen, and other relatives and friends who were eager to see Chen Hao, could only be comforted by Xiaoling Feng and Yuan Tairan. Wuji Immortal Palace, Han Mei Hall. What's going on? When Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tantai Lian stepped into the hall with Chen Hao, Han Mei Immortal and Yun Wei Immortal locked onto Chen Hao, who was standing in the middle. Others couldn't see what was wrong with Chen Hao at the moment, but the two could see that Chen Hao was pretending to be awake under the support of the four women's energy. The four girls bowed and greeted, "Greetings, Master Immortal. No need to be so courteous. Speak, what's the matter with this kid?" "It's like this," Chen Shui slowly explained the situation that happened in the eastern continent during this period of time. Good. I really didn't expect this little guy to be so strong. It seems like he had a huge harvest in the ruins. He can take out so many spirit treasures. Although the mysteries of these spirit treasures are very simple, the quality is beyond imagination. It's just right for you to use. Venerable Han Mei said. It seems like our two halls are going to amaze everyone in the Wuji Elite Academy's qualifier. Come, let me see what kind of state this guy is in. Yun Wei Immortal's face had a trace of gratification and expectation. Master, when Chern Hao entered this state, he specifically told us that no one was allowed to check on his condition. He comprehended a mysterious lost art that he obtained in the historical remains. Once an external force interrupts him, he will suffer an extremely serious backlash. If we weren't in a hurry to come back and report to Master, we wouldn't have dared to bring him back. Helian Wuzi said. This guy. All right, I won't bother about him. Did he say when he will wake up? Don't miss the Elite Academy's qualifier. Yun Wei Immortal said. He said he would finish in about 20 days. It shouldn't be delayed, right? Helian Wuzi replied. Master, should I bring Chen Hao to my palace first, or? Chen Shui looked at Han Mei Immortal and asked. In formal occasions, she always called her Master. His palace has already been prepared. Bring him there. There is still less than a month left. The four of you have to hurry up and train. You all have great hopes in the Elite Academy's qualifier. No matter what, you all have to seize this opportunity. Master, what's so good about the Elite Academy? Although Chern Hao can finish in 20 days, what if he doesn't wake up by then? Chen Shui couldn't help but ask. The benefits of the Elite Academy are not something you can imagine. You will understand when you enter. Now I can simply explain it to you. Stepping into the Elite Academy means that you have stepped into the real life of a cultivator. A vast and magnificent path will be opened for you. This is definitely not something that elixirs, magical treasures, cultivation grounds and other conditions can compare to. If you can't pass the qualifier, you will only have that qualification after reaching the immortal realm. You will understand a little when you enter the competition. Go. Oh, the four girls became more curious, but the two immortal primes obviously didn't want to say more. This kid is hiding a great secret. No matter how powerful the relics are, it is impossible to have so many spiritual treasure sets. Also, did you notice that the spiritual treasure sets of Xiao Wu and the rest, as well as the members of Aotian, are very compatible with their attributes? The materials used are extremely precious in the whole boundless land. How could he have gotten them in the relics? No relics can have so many spiritual treasures of the same level. Even if they appeared, they should be suitable for him. How could they be suitable for others? Who doesn't have a secret among the top geniuses? You are thinking too much. Han Mei Immortal glanced at Immortal Yun Wei and said, He is only at the initial stage of the Destiny Realm and has the combat power of a half-step human immortal. Even if he has a spiritual treasure set, it is still impossible. But he did it. This time, Limitless Demon Palace lost a lot of genius disciples. With Fan Suixin's character, he will definitely not let it go. Yes. It's up to him whether he'll become a stepping stone or be trampled on. However, I believe that other than those monstrous geniuses from the Limitless Devil Palace, there shouldn't be anyone who can do anything to him. Did you sense anything from his aura earlier? Venerable Yun Wei asked. His essence, chi, spirit, and soul are all hidden to an unbelievable extent. Even I can't do that. I didn't dare to invade his body to check. After the four girls left with Chern Hao, the two immortal primes talked about Chern Hao. Although the four girls deliberately exaggerated Chern Hao's powerful spiritual treasure set and mysterious secret technique, the two immortal primes still felt that Chern Hao's achievements in the eastern continent were unbelievable. After all, the four of them couldn't hide the secret technique that Soul Fighter Mo had used and the existence of the half-step human immortal Noda Xieching in the Eastern continent. How could the two immortal primes not know the difference between the half-step human immortal and the destiny realm? But Chen Hao did it. However, Chen Hao, who had always created miracles, didn't let the two immortal primes realize that Chen Hao had also burned his true yuan. After Leng Ning Huan, Leng Ning Lo, Huyan Aobua, and the others knew that Chen Hao had returned, they all rushed to the palace that Immortal Primes Han Mei had specially arranged for Chen Hao. However, the four of them didn't tell Huyan Aobua and the others about Chen Hao's situation. They only told the two beautiful sisters after Huyan Aobua and the others left. The demon Dao is good at dual cultivation. Huan, Lei, does your family have a dual cultivation technique that can deal with Chen Hao's condition? After explaining the situation to the two beautiful sisters, Chen Shui and the others looked at the two of them with anticipation. Sister Shui, our family doesn't pay much attention to dual cultivation. Moreover, the two of us haven't learned anything about it. Oh, then there's no other way. We can only rely on ourselves to find it. You guys take turns to replenish his energy. I'll go take a look at the secret art library. In the next few days, Chen Shui stayed in Cold Plum Hall's secret art library. As Immortal Prime's Han Mei's direct disciple and her biological daughter, Chen Shui had extremely high authority in Cold Plum Hall. Of course, this was also brought about by her talent. She had the authority to read all the information about the secret art library that was below the creation realm. However, after secretly flipping through all the dual cultivation techniques, Chen Shui couldn't find any that was suitable for Chen Hao's current condition. Instead, it gave her a deeper understanding of dual cultivation technique. Dual cultivation with a Dao partner was indeed a great cultivation technique that was extremely effective for cultivators. However, even if many genius disciples had a Dao partner early on, they didn't really start dual cultivation. Originally, Chen Shui didn't understand. Dual cultivation could allow cultivators to advance faster and benefit a lot. Why didn't many people dual cultivate? Why did her mother stop her from being with Chen Hao? However, she understood now. If one could rely on one's talent to advance bravely, it was best to cultivate by oneself. Only when one encountered a bottleneck that one couldn't overcome, that was, when one's talent was pushed to the limit and there was no hope of advancing, would it be the best time to start dual cultivation. Otherwise, if one started too early, dual cultivation would only bring about obvious short-term effects, but it would be disadvantageous in the long run. Simply put, dual cultivation was like a super elixir that didn't differentiate between realms. It was the key to breaking through one's limit. The earlier one used it, the more wasted it would be. The later one used it, the higher the long-term benefits. These dual cultivation techniques have to be in a state of sobriety and achieve spiritual integration first. Only then can the yin and yang complement each other further. I've already checked all the dual cultivation manuals. There are more than 10,000 of them. Why isn't there a single one? Chen Shui frowned and put down the last book that introduced the dual cultivation technique. More than 10,000 books on dual cultivation techniques covered all kinds of aspects that Chen Shui couldn't think of. Most of them were in the primordial soul realm and creation realm, but none of them were helpful. This made Chen Shui feel strange. After all, Cold Plum Hall was one of the main halls of Wuji Immortal Palace. Although it didn't dare to say that it was the most comprehensive, it was at least one of the best in the entire central mainland. Idiot! Why didn't I think of this? Chen Hao's soul is severely injured now, and he has fallen into a deep soul self-healing state. This is an illness. I should start with the healing manuals. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Chen Shui's mind. Her beautiful eyes emitted 2 rays of light, and her figure flashed as she rushed to the healing manuals section. Physical injuries, meridians injuries, internal organs injuries, soul injuries. Here. Hiss. After seeing the section for soul injuries, Chen Shui rushed over excitedly. To be continued. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. While enduring the crushing pain of his soul, he sought a way to break through the shackles of his mind. He wanted to transcend. Only by transcending this pain, overlooking it and ignoring it, could he survive this tribulation. Unfortunately, after experiencing it countless times, Chen Hao found that his thinking was too naive. This was a kind of pain that came from the depths of his soul. It was a real pain that wouldn't be transferred by his will. Spiritual transcendence such as AQ and so on had no effect at all. How could it be possible to transcend? The only thing he could do was to endure it. If I can't resist, then I'll close my eyes and enjoy it. Come on more fiercely. Pain. Isn't it just pain? I, Chen Hao, will never be defeated by you. Again and again, his body was crushed and condensed. The obsession to survive and the arrogance in his heart made him persevere and not give up. Every time his soul was crushed into powder, Chen Hao's remaining will became weaker and weaker, but he was able to persevere every time. No, it wasn't perseverance, but to enjoy without any distractions. To enjoy the pain, to face the pain head-on, to resist the pain. He was no longer running away, no longer dodging. Instead, he was facing the pain seriously and without any distractions. This was a completely perverted behavior, but Chen Hao had really achieved it without any distractions, to the point of becoming crazy. Completely immersed in this state, he didn't feel anything except pain. There was only endless pain and endless suffering. In this state, he didn't realize that every time his soul was reorganized, there was a very subtle change in his soul. It was a very small change that couldn't be noticed if one didn't pay attention. But at this moment, if Chen Hao seriously compared his soul at the beginning with the soul that had been crushed and reorganized countless times, he would find that there was a shocking gap. Similarly, every time his will was crushed, it seemed to be getting weaker and weaker, but it was becoming more and more condensed and firm like the soul that was being reorganized. Time passed day by day. Chen Hao, who was in a strange state, had no sense of time at all. He didn't have time to think or consider, and the pain he suffered became greater and greater. There was only one obsession in his mind, and that was to survive. For his parents, for his brothers and sisters, for his beloved woman, for his brothers and sisters, and for all the people he couldn't let go of, he had to survive. For his obsession, the obsession of immortality, the obsession of stepping onto the peak of martial arts, he had to survive. How could he die? How could he die? No, it still doesn't work. Why? Why isn't there any reaction? Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xiaoyu, Tantai Lian, and the Lung sisters, after Chen Shui had tried all the methods to deal with soul injuries, their mood became worse and worse, and they became more and more nervous. He has been unconscious for 20 days now. What should we do? Chen Shui looked at the girls and asked helplessly. There were only 5 days left before the Boundless Continent's Elite Academy's qualifiers would officially begin. In 2 days they would set off. But now Chen Hao still didn't have any improvement. Even if they used some methods to make Chen Shui and the rest extremely embarrassed, there was no effect. Even the violent, masculine wind powder had been used. Masculine wind powder, as the name suggested, rejuvenated a man's masculinity. It was a famous evil medicine in the world of cultivation. Any man, as long as he wasn't dead, even if he was in a vegetative state, as long as he took the masculine wind powder, he would be able to stimulate the most primitive desires from the inside out. According to the information that Chen Shui had seen in the Secret Arts Library, if one wanted to wake Chen Hao up, one could use the masculine wind powder to let his body erupt with the most primitive desires from the inside out, regardless of the soul. As long as one could do this and use the dual cultivation absolute art, there would be a high chance of awakening Chen Hao's soul. This was a dual cultivation absolute art that combined the physical body and stimulated the fusion of soul and flesh. But, after feeding Chen Hao the masculine wind powder, his physical body was like a corpse, and there was no reaction at all. It made it impossible for them to continue even if they wanted to give themselves to him. He hasn't woken up yet? Just when the 6 girls were at their wits' end, the voice of Senior Immortal Han Mei suddenly appeared in their ears. Immediately, Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei appeared in front of the 6 girls. No, the 6 girls' expressions changed as they hurriedly responded. It's really strange. The 6 of you have been sneaking around these few days. What's going on? And little Shui, you've been reading the secret manual in the soul injury area these few days. What's going on? Could it be that Chen Hao's soul is severely injured? You want to wake him up? Senior Immortal Han Mei looked at Chen Shui and frowned. Tell me, what's going on? Don't think that we can't tell. You must be hiding something. Now, if you don't tell me, I'll have to use force. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 469. In these 10 days, Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei were equally anxious. As the qualifiers approached, if Chen Hao didn't wake up, they would miss this opportunity. This wasn't something they wanted to see. Moreover, the sneaky actions of Chen Shui and the other 5 had been noticed by both of them. Unfortunately, both of them had captured Jiang Hai, Huang Wenxiu and the rest to interrogate them. They had even sent people to the eastern continent to investigate the situation, but they didn't find anything. However, their instincts told them that they were hiding something. There were still 2 days before they had to set off. Both of them couldn't help but come to the palace where Chen Hao was and began to interrogate Chen Shui and the other 5. Mother, we really don't know. Still lying? Do you really want him to miss this qualifiers? Do you know how big of a loss it would be to enter Elite Academy X a year later? Venerable Han Mei stared at Chen Shui and said seriously, although the qualifiers of Elite Academy X are held every year, there is only one important opportunity every 60 years. If you miss this year, unless Chen Hao can step into the immortal realm, you will have to wait another 60 years. Is this the result you want? Hearing Venerable Han Mei's words, the 6 girls were shocked. After looking at each other, Chen Shui took a deep breath and asked, Mother, what's the situation in Elite Academy X? All you need to know is that the qualifiers this time are very important. Are you going to speak or not? Venerable Han Mei said sternly. So we thought that his soul was severely injured, so we didn't dare to tell you. We were afraid that you would. Chen Shui knew that she couldn't hide it anymore. We were afraid that you would give up on him. But now, I've checked all the secret manuals on soul injuries. Even the most serious soul injury would at most sleep for 10 days before waking up. But it's already been 20 days, and we've used all kinds of methods, but we still couldn't wake him up. Soul injury? As expected. No wonder all of you hid it. When Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei heard Chen Shui's words, they were enlightened. However, they weren't surprised. Obviously, both of them had already guessed the reason. Tell me, what's going on? What did Chen Hao tell you before he fell into a coma? At that time, Soul Fighter Mo used his secret technique, and faced the threat of Notice Yeqing, a half-step human immortal. Chen Hao he had no choice but to secretly burn 800 years of his life. What? The 2 venerables widened their eyes in shock. They had guessed that Chen Hao's soul had been severely damaged and that he must have used a secret technique to burn his lifespan. However, they had never imagined that he had burned his lifespan for 800 years. What did 800 years mean? A manifestation realm cultivator only had a lifespan of 1,000 years. Burning 800 years of his lifespan was equivalent to destroying 4/5 of his soul. How could he possibly recover from such a heavy injury? He said it won't affect him too much. Mother, Apotheosis Yunwei, I believe that Chen Hao won't be affected too much. You can't ignore him. Master, Chen Hao will be fine. Even if his soul is injured, he will still be stronger than us. Master, shut up. The two venerables' expressions became extremely ugly as they shouted at the 6 women. Apotheosis Han Mei was so angry that her lips were trembling. She stared at Chen Shui and the others and said, "Why, didn't you stop him?" "Mother, we only knew about it after the event." "Bastard! Bastard! Just because of the immortal Tao in the Eastern continent, just because of such a small matter, he risked his life. 800 years of lifespan. That's 800 years of lifespan. Sigh, it's too late to say anything now. Apotheosis Han Mei, this kid is too young. If we were his age, I'm afraid we would have done the same thing. What a pity." Apotheosis Yunwei shook her head and said, her eyes full of disappointment. Seeing the two venerables' expressions, Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, Tantai Lian, and the two beautiful sisters suddenly revealed a look of horror. The way they looked at the two venerables also changed. Although the two of them had yet to reveal Chen Hao's final fate, Chen Shui and the others were already aware of it. It seemed, just as Xiaoling Feng had said, the world of cultivation was a cruel place. When a genius became mediocre, he would lose everything he had. This was the merciless Tao. Mother, Master, there's no need to say anything. We know what you're worried about. Things have already reached this stage. Even we can't do anything about it. Even if he's a genius, he won't be able to recover from such a serious injury to his soul. Even if he can wake up, I'm afraid he won't be able to step into the human celestial realm in this lifetime. This also means that he only has a little more than 100 years left. Impossible. Mother, you can't judge Chen Hao by an ordinary person's standards. He's definitely not as simple as you think. As long as he's a human, no matter how talented he is, he won't be able to escape the restrictions of the heavenly Tao. Mother knows how you feel about him, but that's the truth. Don't worry, whether it's me or Apotheosis Yunwei, we won't give up on him. We can tell you now that as long as you can enjoy the treatment, we'll give it to him as well. After all, since he started cultivating until now, strictly speaking, we've never helped him or provided him with anything. Mother's only worry is that he can't accept the reality. All of you work hard. Mother promises to give him the best treatment as a core disciple of Cold Plum Hall. As long as he needs it, we'll treat him the same as you. No. I believe in him. Mother, do you know how he got those spiritual treasure sets? After an hour, the stalwart figure condensed again, his face full of shock. The stalwart figure was the old deity. How could this be? How could it be so terrifying? Upon hearing the old deity's words, the treasure hunter sword's spirit asked nervously, "Old deity, what's going on?" "I don't know. With my current mental cultivation base, I can't even get close to it. In an instant, just an instant, my mental cultivation base was blasted away and crushed into powder. If I were a soul, I'm afraid my soul would have been destroyed." "Ah? Then, Chen Hao, even though I've only activated a tiny bit of my current mental strength, it's still at the peak of the worldly immortal realm, yet it was actually unable to withstand a single blow. If I'm not wrong, then the mental attack created by this black dot is at least at the initial stage of the earthly immortal realm. Moreover, Chen Hao is trapped within it. Inconceivable, inconceivable. Such a strange situation is something that even my previous masters have never encountered. Could it be that it's because Chen Hao's soul is comparatively special?" The old deity muttered to himself with a shocked expression as though he did not hear the treasure hunter sword's spirit's question. It must be. His soul was originally the fusion of 2 lifetimes, and one of them was even cultivated through heaven-defying technological means. Such a soul had probably transcended beyond the cycle of reincarnation and wasn't part of the origin. In addition, the fusion of two souls had caused his soul to mutate. Such a mutated soul, after suffering a great soul injury, would begin to repair itself, evolve, or even fuse further. It must be so. That must be the case. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 470. The Old God was Chun Hao's biggest secret. The Old God had traveled the starry sky with his powerful master for generations. He had seen a lot of things. However, the black dot in front of him was something he had never heard of or seen before. His ability was improved as he merged with Chun Hao. Before Chun Hao surpassed his peak state, the Old God would always be one stage higher than Chun Hao. Only in this way could he carry out the intention of the inheritance and guide and protect Chun Hao. However, at this moment, the Old God, who was at the peak of the later stage of the human celestial stage, was destroyed by a small black dot in Chun Hao's mind. He couldn't even get close to it, let alone go deep into it to check on Chun Hao's condition. This was unbelievable. How could he not be shocked? This meant that Chun Hao had completely broken the shackles of the strongest inheritance he carried, and had broken free from the restraints of the Old God's inheritance. This was because his state of mind, soul, and willpower had clearly surpassed the realm that the Old God could display. Otherwise, Chun Hao's soul should have dissipated, and not be immersed in this state of self-isolation and complete restraint. Old God? The treasure-hunting sword spirit couldn't help but ask again. Unbelievable! Unbelievable! This state is definitely not the state that a soul injury should be in. Once he wakes up, his state of mind, soul, and will be greatly improved. He has transcended. As long as he wakes up. Old God, what do you mean? Even though I don't know exactly what sort of state he's in right now, I'm sure he's definitely enduring boundless pain. This is a form of tempering of the soul, will, and state of mind. That boundless pressure is sufficient to crush a peak human immortal. He's still persisting. If he's able to endure it, then he'll absolutely obtain a shocking improvement. If he fails, fail? Yes, fail. If he fails, he'll be consigned to eternal damnation. You and I will enter the reincarnation cycle again and wait for the next opportunity. Are you serious? It's so serious. Is there any way to help him? Old God, I don't want to fall into endless darkness and wait again. There's no way. Now he can only rely on himself. The only thing we can do is to pray that he can hold on. His aura is still growing. Even though it's very slow, compared to 20 days ago, he's already a few realms stronger. I really don't know how long he'll be able to sustain this for. Sigh. Fortune and misfortune come hand in hand. Whether it's fortune or misfortune, it all depends on him. No matter what, there is still a chance of survival. This is the law of the heavenly Tao. I hope he can grasp it, Old God said with uncertainty. Even though Chun Hao had never disappointed him before, the change this time was too sudden, too violent, and too unimaginable. Chun Hao, who was only at the creation realm, was immersed in a pressure that could instantly destroy the mind of a peak human immortal. What sort of concept was this? Moreover, this pressure was still slowly increasing. Although the rate of increase was becoming slower and slower, it showed no signs of stopping. This meant that as time passed, it would definitely increase to an even more terrifying level. Could Chun Hao hold on? When will it end? Old God couldn't be sure, and no one could be sure. What should we do? The women were at their wits' end. Venerable Han Mei's last words were like a wake-up call to the 6 women's hearts. They had been immersed in the state of worrying about Chun Hao, which made them forget the tension that had once been hidden in the depths of their hearts. Yes, it was tension. Chun Hao's heaven-defying talent and abnormal combat strength, although he was in the same realm as them, had far exceeded their understanding. Chun Shui and the others had realized this a long time ago. It was precisely because of this that every single one of them was working hard and doing their best to improve themselves and become stronger. However, the gap between them and Chen Hao was still growing larger and larger. Just like what Venerable Han Mei had said, if this continued, one day, they would become Chen Hao's baggage and affect Chen Hao's development. At that time, although Chen Hao would not abandon them, it was impossible for them to be together all the time. Just like Mo Yui, Yang Fan, and the others, at this moment they had been left far behind. With Chen Hao's character, how could he be willing to be ordinary? No matter how good Chen Hao was to them, he would not deliberately slow down his pace because of them. Similarly, they would not let themselves become a burden to Chen Hao. Believe in him. He will be fine. In that case, when everyone looked at Chen Shui took a deep breath and said with determination in her eyes, "We will participate in the preliminaries. We must become stronger. Sister Shui is right, we must become stronger." Xia Yuyu said. "But he needs us to maintain his energy. If we participate in the competition, we must bring him along." Tantai Lian looked at Chen Hao, who was in a coma. Buzz and What the 6 women did not expect was that as soon as Tantai Lian finished speaking and everyone looked at Chen Hao, a majestic and pure energy fluctuation suddenly gushed out from Chen Hao's body. The 6 women exclaimed at the same time, and their expressions became unusually excited. Hiss, 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 hiss. Chen Hao! How! The 6 people rushed to Chen Hao's side and shouted excitedly. "Hello!" An unfamiliar and old voice resounded in the 6 women's ears at the same time. It was a voice transmission and not a voice. "Who is it? Who is it?" The 6 women were startled at the same time and looked around vigilantly, protecting Chen Hao in the middle. "Don't be surprised, I have known you for a long time. It's just that you don't know me. I am the spirit of an inherited treasure that Master obtained. You can call me treasure hunting. Oh, my master is Chen Hao. This master has not woken up yet and will not wake up for the time being. It should take a period of time. Maybe a month, maybe a year, maybe even longer. As for when he will wake up, I am not sure. You don't have to worry too much. Master has fallen into a strange state. The injury to his soul no longer exists. No one can help him. You will only affect him if you are here. I can help Master recover his energy, so you don't have to worry. Just don't let anyone disturb Master." The voice of Treasure Hunting's sword spirit resounded in the 6 women's minds again. Treasure hunt. Chen Hao, What's going on? What state is he in? I don't know, and no one can know. Even the strongest people in the boundless world can't know. I can only tell you that if Master wakes up, although he will still be in the blessed realm, his mental cultivation will reach an unbelievable realm. If you want what is good for Master, then work hard in your cultivation. I don't want you to be a burden to Master. Treasure Hunting's sword spirit said bluntly, "A long time ago, Master chose a cultivation technique for all of you. I will teach it to all of you now. While Master is in this state, all of you have to work hard to improve. Otherwise, even though Master cares about all of you, he will eventually go further and further away." "Is he dangerous?" Chen Shui asked with a frown. "He is not dangerous. How can there be danger? All of you just have to work hard in your cultivation and do your best to improve yourselves," Treasure Hunting's sword spirit said. "No," Chen Shui said, "you are lying." Cough cough. "How can I lie? I am telling the truth. Alright, if you work hard in your cultivation and improve yourselves, you will be helping Master to the greatest extent. That's all I have to say. I am just a wisp of divine consciousness, and I can't hold on any longer." After Treasure Hunting's sword spirit finished speaking, it directly cut off the mental connection with the 6 women and escaped into the depths of Chen Hao's mind with a forehead full of sweat. Then, it was met with the old gods scolding for not being able to do such a trivial thing. "Wait. Chen Shui said in a panic. Unfortunately, treasure-hunting sword spirit did not dare to give her another chance. No matter how the 6 of them called out, there was no reply. Chen Hao is in danger. He is definitely in danger. Sister Shui, how do you know? Didn't treasure hunting say that there is no danger? He said that he doesn't know what state Chen Hao is in. Also, he said that if Chen Hao can wake up, what does that mean? It means that he is not sure if Chen Hao can wake up. Then what should we do? There is no other way. I already knew that his body contained a secret, but I didn't expect it to be an artifact spirit. An artifact spirit is connected to its master's mind. If the artifact spirit doesn't know what is going on, what can we do? What treasure hunting said is right. We should use all our strength to improve our realm and strength, and not do meaningless waiting. Because we believe in Chen Hao. We believe that he will definitely wake up. Let's go find Master. Oh, don't tell anyone about treasure hunting's appearance. We only need to know. My mother and your master are not as heartless as sect leader Xia said, but the cultivation world is cruel, this is the truth. As long as we are strong enough, Master and the rest will definitely fulfill their promise to us. And Chen Hao will wake up, he definitely will. Hiss hiss hiss, limitless immortal palace, Winter Plum Hall's core region. On top of a majestic mountain peak, a terrifying energy fluctuation appeared in the void. In a radius of 10,000 miles, heaven and earth spiritual energy surged violently and surged towards this majestic mountain peak. The tribulation cloud spanned 1,000 miles, emitting a terrifying aura. Countless disciples of Winter Plum Hall stared at the 2 figures standing on the mountain peak, their eyes filled with envy. Senior Huan and Senior Lele will definitely succeed. Of course. I just don't know if the 2 of them will be like Senior Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Xia Yuyu, and Tantai Lian from Yunwei Hall, and succeed in resisting the heavenly punishment. After all, they practice demonic arts. Although they have joined Winter Plum Hall, compared to Limitless Demon Palace, our demonic arts are still lacking. In addition, the 2 of them are telepathic and triggered the heavenly punishment at the same time. Just looking at this aura, it is not inferior to Senior Chen Shui's heavenly punishment that shocked the cultivation world. Yes, 10 years, they have only been in Elite Academy for 10 years, and they have already triggered the heavenly punishment. This is too shocking. It is said that the 6 of them are all first-class figures in Elite Academy. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 471. They succeeded in resisting the divine punishment. Phew. Our Winter Plum Hall has 2 more young and powerful celestial primes. Good. Good. Countless disciples of Winter Plum Hall and Friendship Hall, Rue Weaver Hall, stared from afar at the beautiful sisters of the Ling clan who were enveloped in a ball of auspicious light. They were all filled with envy and excitement. It's been 10 years, in the void. Han Mei's face was filled with relief. But when she saw the sisters rushing towards that palace, a trace of sadness appeared between her brows. Yes, it's been 10 years. 10 years ago, the 6 of them passed the selection and became disciples of Elite Academy X. Only Xiao Shui and Xiao Wu obtained the membership of Vast Universe Galaxy. I thought Yuyu and the rest would have to wait for at least 60 years. But they all did it in 10 years. The membership of Vast Universe Galaxy was an extremely rare opportunity for the boundless continent. It was the dream of tens of thousands of genius disciples in Elite Academy X. But the quota was pitifully small. Every 60 years, the boundless continent could only obtain 1,000 quotas. These 1,000 quotas were obtained through layers of selection. The competition was extremely fierce. Without extremely high talent, it was impossible to obtain it. Any disciple who could obtain it in Elite Academy was definitely a demon-level genius. After all, the the disciples of Elite Academy X who had accumulated for thousands of years were all in the creation realm. Once they broke through to the immortal realm, they would automatically leave Elite Academy X and become the celestial primes of the boundless continent. To be able to obtain it in the creation realm was definitely the highest honor in the boundless continent. 10 years ago, Chen Shui, who had a strong soul, relied on her terrifying battle strength and the platinum sky-splitting slash of the Great Five Elements art. After passing the Elite Academy selection, she fought her way to the 436th place in the Elite Academy and obtained the qualifications. Helian Wuzi relied on the most mysterious 100 reincarnation strength between heaven and earth and fought her way to the 639th place, similarly obtaining the qualifications. As for Xia Yuyu Tantai Lian, the Lung sisters, Jiang Hai, Huang Wenxiu, Huyen Aobua, and Meng Xiao, although the 8 of them passed the selection of Elite Academy X, they were not in the top 1,000. Shi Wang, Jing Tiangang, Bailey Lianqing, and the rest did not even pass the selection. They only became members of Elite Academy X in the second year. In the world of cultivation, it was an extremely long process from the creation realm to the human immortal realm. Many cultivators, or to be exact, 99.9% of cultivators, were stuck at the peak of the late stage of the creation realm. They could not even reach the half-step human immortal realm, let alone the human immortal realm. Just like the sect masters and grand elders of the 3 sects in the eastern continent, if they did not encounter a powerful fortuitous encounter in their lives, the creation realm would be their final destination. It was the same in the central continent. Even the gathering place of the boundless continent's most talented disciples, the Boundless Elite Academy, was no exception. There were many disciples who had entered the Elite Academy who had been stuck in the manifestation realm for decades or even close to 100 years. Because of this, in the eyes of Exalted Han Mei and Exalted Yun Wei, if Xia Yuyu's group of 4 wanted to obtain the qualifications to become a member of Vast Universe Star River, they would have to wait at least 60 years for a new round of qualifications. However, in just a short 10 years, they had officially obtained it by ascending to the human immortal stage. Anyone in the boundless world, once they stepped into the worldly immortal realm, would immediately obtain the qualifications to become a member of the vast universe galaxy. This was the most basic way to obtain it, and it was also the way most people obtained it. Only the Elite Academy's qualifying battle, which was held once every 60 years, would allow those in the Destiny realm to obtain it in advance. In these 10 years, the Eastern Continent's immortal Tao's fate has gathered, and countless talented disciples have emerged. Especially those who are related to him, their progress is even more shocking. You've really profited, Exalted Han Mei said. My Hall Master Yunwei is in charge of the Eastern Continent's immortal Tao. It's useless even if you're envious. Back then, I didn't fight with you for Xiao Shui and him. Proud Skies members have also been placed under your name. What you've obtained isn't any less than me. Moreover, in these 10 years, those few guys have made Proud Sky famous, and even the Palace Master has noticed. Han Mei, I have a feeling. What? I believe you should have felt it too. Otherwise, you wouldn't have specially mentioned those who are related to him, right? Exalted Han Mei frowned slightly and said, Yes, I felt it, but I can't be sure. After all, Xiao Shui, Xiao Wu, and the others are all from the Eastern Continent's immortal Tao. Moreover, those who are related to him are also related to Xiao Shui and the others. You have to know that although 10 years have passed, which one of Xiao Shui and the others isn't thinking about him? Whether it's because of his fate, can you be sure? That's true. Oh right, among the applicants for this year's Elite Academy selection competition, it's said that there's an Eastern Continent's Demon Tao disciple. Eastern Continent's Demon Tao disciple? This isn't strange. The rise of the Eastern Continent's immortal Tao means that the Eastern Continent's Demon Tao disciple's fate would naturally increase. Wouldn't the Demon Tao disciple be half a foot taller? For the future of the boundless continent, the three palace masters wouldn't let one family dominate. But when that demon Tao disciple stepped into the central continent, he was already at the peak of a half-step human immortal. Peak of a half-step human immortal? Exalted Han Mei was slightly shocked. That's right. This is what's really shocking. Under the restrictions of the eastern continent's heavenly Tao, even if one could advance to a half-step human immortal, he would definitely be near the end of his lifespan and have cultivated some heaven-defying evil technique. For example, Oda Xiecheng, who failed to pass the tribulation a few years ago. But the disciple who signed up this time has an extremely young life force, similar to Xiao Shui and the others. When he just stepped into the central continent, he displayed an extremely heaven-defying battle prowess. It's said that he has already attracted the favor of the limitless Demon Palace Master. Compared to Chen Hao, his talent and battle prowess are even stronger, comparable to a human immortal. He's known as the monstrous genius of the boundless continent. Even our Palace Master and the Demon Palace Master are envious of him. What's his name? Fang Handong, the disciple of the limitless Demon Palace, gave him the title Invincible East. He joined the Broken Heart Palace of the limitless Demon Palace. During the assessment of his strength, he defeated 3 experts of the initial stage of the human immortal realm. He's known as the Invincible One under the human immortal realm. Even the top geniuses of the elite academy can't be compared to him. What's even more envious is that this person originally had a handsome face with sword scars on his face, each of which contained the undying sword will. But after he was favored by the Palace Master of the limitless Demon Palace, he actually comprehended the undying sword way, which made the sword scars on his face disappear. He became a handsome young man, and then he was favored by the daughter of the Palace Master of the limitless Demon Palace's direct descendant, Wan Nanxia. He soared to the sky. Wan Nanxia! Cough cough. Han Mei, didn't you erase that memory? I only erased the memory of being together with him, not all of it. Exalted Han Mei said. She did erase the memory of Chen Hai, but it was only the memory that was engraved in her heart. It didn't mean that she had erased everything. Wan Nanxiao was the favored daughter of the demonic sect, and she used to be one of her rivals in love. If she had heard this name before, she would have been angry. But now, she could deal with it calmly. Love was gone, so why would she be angry? Why did he join the Broken Heart Palace? I'm also curious about this. With Fan Suixin's hatred for us, I'm afraid that this preliminaries. Hearing Exalted Yun Wei's words, Han Mei frowned. In the past 10 years, although the disciples of Han Mei Palace and Yun Wei Palace performed well in every elite academy's preliminaries, many of them were seriously injured or even killed. This was all because of Chen Hao. Back then, the genius disciples of Limitless Demon Palace that were killed by Chen Hao belonged to several palaces of Limitless Demon Palace. How could they not hate him? And anyone who was related to Chen Hao would suffer the most severe revenge. Fortunately, the 2 exalted immortals were not to be trifled with. The girls, Huyen Aobua, and the rest also did not disappoint. Even if they were seriously injured, they made the other party their training target. No one died. But it was different this time. Fang Handong's strength was comparable to a human immortal. Facing such a powerful existence, what could the disciples of the 2 palaces do, no matter how talented they were? As long as they met him, they might die in his hands without any chance to resist. Greetings to Master, Uncle Master. Hiss. Just when Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei were having a headache over the upcoming Elite Academy's qualifiers, the beautiful sisters came to the front of the 2 of them and bowed down. In the past 10 years, as the friendship between Han Mei and Exalted Yun Wei deepened, the 2 palaces were no longer separated. As for the other core disciples, they no longer addressed each other as exalted immortals. When do you plan to depart? Han Mei Immortal Venerable smiled and asked the 2. 3 days later, it will be the Academy's challenge. At that time, we will go with Master and Uncle Master. Ling Ninglu said. We will go back to Heavenly Mist City and visit our family. The two of them had already stepped into the human immortal realm. Now they only needed to report to the Elite Academy and they would be qualified to step out of the Wuji Star. Once they left, they did not know how many years it would take for them to return. All right. Master will send someone to bring you back. After you leave, Master will seal Chen Hao's palace. If there is any news, Master will inform you immediately. Work hard. Okay. We will. The sisters said firmly. It had been 10 years. In the past 10 years, other than the 6 of them, only Han Mei and Yun Wei could enter Chen Hao's palace. They went in with anticipation and came out with disappointment. In the past 10 years, Chen Hao did not change at all, and there were no signs of him waking up. Luckily, the treasure-hunting sword spirit would appear from time to comfort and encourage them. Otherwise, they would be in despair. Under the protection of 10 experts at the peak of the late human immortal realm, the Lung sisters returned to Heavenly Mist City. In the past 10 years, due to the rise of the Lung sisters in the central continent, the Lung family had become a powerful existence in Heavenly Mist City. What made the two of them even more embarrassed was that they actually had an uncle, the flesh and blood of their grandfather, and he was very talented. This allowed the two of them to easily obtain Ling Kongye's permission and made the oath between Ling Kongye and Chen Hao a joke. Let's go. 3 days later, Han Mei, Yun Wei, and the sisters led the hundreds of disciples from the 2 halls who had registered for the competition and stepped into the sacred land of the central continent, Wuji Elite Academy. If Chen Hao saw 2 of them, he would definitely be incomparably gratified. They were Chen Nan and Chen Yen. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 472. 10 years later, Chen Nan and Chen Yen had already displayed extraordinary talent. They had surpassed Mo Yui, Dong Fongjun and the rest, and had reached the manifestation realm. Their battle power was extremely strong. At the initial stage of the manifestation realm, they already had the ability to fight with experts at the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm. They had already become the top geniuses among their peers in Yunwei Hall. Although there was still a huge gap between them and Chen Hao, they were much stronger than Huyan Aoba and the rest. Of course, it was not strength, but talent. Yunwei Hall and Winter Plum Hall had the highest chance of passing the Elite Academy's qualifiers. Aunt Huan, Aunt Lo. Sister Huan, Sister Lo. 2 completely different voices and greetings. The one who called her sister was the petite Chen Yen, who was slightly thin and weak, but was very moving. There was a faint sadness between her brows that did not match her age. It had been 10 years. She had already known about Chen Hao's situation, but after stepping into the central mainland, she could only visit him once a year. Her brother was the sky in her heart. She had been very attached to her brother since she was young. But ever since Chen Hao entered the Shao family, it was not easy for her to see her brother even once. For Chen Hao, she cultivated with all her might. When she stepped into the central continent, she thought that she would finally be able to see her brother more often. However, she did not expect that Chen Hao's so-called enlightenment state in the eastern continent was actually a coma. Moreover, he had not woken up even now. She saw Chen Hao, but no matter how she called out to him, no matter how much she cried, Chen Hao couldn't hear her, see her, or respond to her. Her brother was her sky. At that moment she felt that the sky had collapsed. If not for the treasure hunter sword's spirit appearing to comfort her, she did not know if she would have been able to live until now. When she was young, she was attached to her brother. When she grew up, she secretly loved her brother. Now that she had become a beautiful young lady, she no longer hid her feelings for her brother. Chen Shui could, so why couldn't she? Her brother was a gift from the heavens to her parents and also to her. Therefore, whether it was Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Ling Ning Huan, Ling Ning Lo, she only called them elder sister and never called them sister-in-law. Chen Nan, who was already in his 20s, was tall and slender. His appearance was 80% similar to his father, Chen Hai. However, his aura was cold and masculine. His eyes were as heavy as a mountain and contained a sense of unswerving determination. He addressed her as sister-in-law. He also knew Xiao Yan's feelings for his brother, and no one knew it better than him. In his opinion, the best home for Xiao Yan was his brother. His brother was not his parents' biological son, and they would know that when they became sensible. His big brother had been his idol since he was young. It was the safest and happiest thing for his little sister to be with his big brother. No one else deserved to have a younger sister. How is big brother now? Are there any changes? Chen Yan asked. Chen Nan also looked at Ling Ning Huan and Ling Ning Lu with anticipation. Unfortunately, Ling Ning Huan and Ling Ning Lu could only shake their heads helplessly. Brother Hao will wake up one day. What we need to do now is to cultivate. The selection is about to begin. Don't be distracted, okay? Yes. Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei saw the determination in Chen Nan and Chen Yan's eyes. They looked at each other and did not remind them to avoid affecting their state of mind. However, both of them had already made up their minds. The appearance of Fong Handong from Broken Heart Hall had undoubtedly made the selection more dangerous. However, both of them would not say it until the last moment. After all, there were 340,000 disciples who had signed up for the selection this year. As long as they were not in the same group as Fong Handong, there was nothing to worry about. They were both in the blessed realm, but it was rather difficult for them to kill someone in the tournament. At the same time, on the way to the Holy Land Elite Academy, an old man and a young man were flying side by side in the void. Behind them were more than 30 young genius disciples. Based on their auras, it was obvious that they were all manifestation realm experts. These disciples would occasionally look at the young man who was flying side by side with the old man. Their eyes were filled with envy and respect from the bottom of their hearts. This old man was the master of Broken Heart Hall, Fan Suixin. As for the young man, he was Fong Handong, who had become famous in the central continent in just a few months. He was known as the monstrous genius of the boundless world. Handong, have you read the details of the participating disciples from Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall? Yes, master, Fong Handong said flatly. Fong Handong said faintly. A frightening coldness flashed across his handsome face, and there was an imperceptible viciousness in the depths of his eyes. Remember, in the first test, if you meet any disciples from these two halls, kill them without mercy. The hatred between Broken Heart Hall and them has reached its climax. With your current identity and status, as long as you don't do anything too obvious, no one will dare to make things difficult for you. The Palace Masters of Wuji Immortal Palace and Devil Palace will give you a way out. Do you understand? Don't worry, as long as I meet them, no matter who they are, they will definitely die. Fong Handong said straightforwardly. If I'm not mistaken, they are Chern Hao's younger brother and sister. Master, have you made the arrangements? Haha. Of course, I didn't have such power in the past. However, thanks to you, I only needed to reveal this information to a few good friends and they supported me greatly. Even the members of the arbitration team from Wuji Immortal Palace and Devil Palace gave me face. This is a small matter. Master has to thank you. Fan Suixin looked at Fong Handong with gratification. His old face was brimming with a smile. Over the past 10 years, because of the death of Soul Fighter, a super genius whom he had spent countless resources to nurture, he hated Chen Hao and the others to the bone. 10 years ago, during the selection, he had made preparations together with the great halls where the geniuses were killed by Chen Hao. Unfortunately, Chen Hao did not participate in the selection. Later, he found out through other channels that Chun Hao had fallen into a coma. He was both happy and dissatisfied. He was happy because there was a rumor that Chun Hao's soul had been severely damaged and he had turned into an idiot. He was dissatisfied because this result was too easy for Chun Hao. In the following few years, their limitless Devil Palace had been targeting the Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall's disciples. Unfortunately, the two halls were on guard against them. Although they had caused the other side to suffer losses several times, and even killed many of their disciples, none of them were important. Later, Chun Shui and the other girls broke through one after another, which made him even more desperate. But this year, Fang Handong, a peerless monstrous genius, had actually fallen in front of him like a pie. Countless great halls of the Devil Palaces that were even more powerful than the Broken Heart Palace had extended an olive branch to him, but Fang Handong had actually chosen him. In just a few months, he had gained the favor of the Palace Master of Wuji Immortal Palace. He had won the heart of the Palace Master's direct disciple. This had raised Broken Heart Hall's status in Wuji Immortal Palace by a lot. How could he not be happy? What made him even happier was that this disciple was very concerned about the knot in his heart. Fang Handong had clearly reached the point where he could trigger the heavenly punishment, but he had suppressed his aura just to help him fulfill his wish. "You're welcome," Fang Handong said as he looked into the distance. Fan Suixin did not notice the strange light in his disciple's eyes. "Kill them? How could I, Fang Handong, do that for a trash like you? This is the knot in my heart." All these years, it was like a fishbone stuck in his throat. "Chun Hao, I should thank you. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your strong father. If I hadn't been forced into a corner by you, I wouldn't have been forced into a dead end. If I hadn't been forced into a dead end, I wouldn't be where I am today. I was strong enough to reach the nascent soul realm, but you were already the #1 cultivator in the Eastern continent. I could only endure. But in the end, I couldn't endure and paid a price to return to the secular world. I couldn't take revenge on you for the time being, so I could only attack your family to vent a little of my hatred for you. But I didn't expect that I would almost lose my life. Is it funny that a nascent soul realm cultivator almost lost his life in the secular world? I don't know who it was, but I know that it must be the person who protected you. Unfortunately, at that time, he had the ability to kill me, but he let me go. Ha ha. Let me go. I thought that I would never have the chance to be your enemy in my life. But the heavens gave me another chance. The great war of the immortals, demons, and demons. Haha, I didn't want to drag out an ignoble existence, so I escaped to the Devil Realm and soon became a core disciple of the top sect in the Devil Realm. But I know that I'm still too far away from you. I still have no hope at all. But the heavens obviously favor me and let me gain a blessing in disguise. Fang Handong stared at the endless void, and a huge wave of emotions surged in his mind. Half-step human immortal Oda Xieching, disrespectful as an old man, failed the divine punishment and became an itinerant immortal. But he wanted to possess my powerful body. Coincidences led to today's Fang Handong, who was once Shaojihan Dongfang Han. Disregarding everything else, Oda Xieching's possession of Dongfang Han was a great opportunity. After failing the divine punishment, Oda Xieching was lucky enough to become an itinerant immortal. It was not difficult for him to possess any cultivator below the human immortal realm. But when Oda Xieching discovered Dongfang Han, who had emerged from the sect, he attacked when the divine punishment severely injured him. In his opinion, Dongfang Han, who had just reached the incarnation realm, could be easily possessed by him. With his cultivation of the human immortal realm, he would be able to perfectly integrate with Dongfang Han's powerful body in a few years. At that time, his success rate would be higher when he triggered the divine punishment again. An itinerant immortal could not satisfy his ambition, but he did not expect Dongfang Han's will to be so strong that it was unimaginable, and even formed the embryonic form of the indestructible sword soul. So it was a tragedy. He went for wool and came home shorn. He allowed Dongfang Han to be reborn and refined his soul bit by bit. Today, a few years later, Dongfang Han had grown to a terrifying extent. I'm here. You've fallen into a coma. Then I'll kill everyone around you that I can kill. The day you wake up will be the day I settle the score with you. Chun Nan, Chun Yen, your dearest little brother and sister, ha ha ha. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 473. The pain was getting more and more terrifying. Time and time again, Chun Hao's soul was crushed, and Chun Hao was reformed again and again. The soul, the illusory soul, the soul without a physical body, became smaller and smaller in the process of being crushed and reformed again and again. However, it was getting purer and purer, just like the compression of gas. After 3 years, Chun Hao's soul had shrunk by 100 times. After 6 years, it had shrunk by 1,000 times. After 10 years, it had reached 10,000 times. After repeated trials, Chun Hao's will became firmer and purer. However, the pain he had to endure also increased exponentially. The pain that exceeded the limit continued to climb, as if it was endless. Chun Hao gritted his teeth. Crazy, crazy. He clung to his last belief, I can't die. Ah! Bang! Just as Venerable Immortal Han Mei and Venerable Yunwei were leading the group towards the Holy Land Elite Academy, Chun Hao's crazy, painful, and arrogant roar rang in his mind again. That was a battle with the heavenly Tao, a roar against fate. However, under the terrifying pain, it was crushed into powder again. This time, it was even more terrifying than before. Rumble, ah? Not good. Immediately, there were continuous explosions in Chun Hao's brain. Pieces of space turned into nothingness. The entire brain was shrinking at an alarming speed. It was destroyed, as if the world was about to collapse. The huge movement made Old God, treasure-hunting sword spirit, Itoda, and the 5 mythological beasts who were confined by Old God to cultivate under pressure were ejected from the space collapse. All of them exclaimed in shock. The brain space is collapsing. It's over. At this moment, even Old God's face turned pale. He was terrified. After waiting for a long time, he finally received the inheritance from Chun Hao. But now, is it still wrong this time? Is it wrong again? Or was it wrong from the beginning? Old God's expression was filled with pain and fear. He looked at the rapidly collapsing brain world and muttered. The collapse of the mental world meant that Chun Hao's consciousness had completely vanished. Otherwise, as long as there was a shred of obsession remaining, the mental world would be stable. Over the past 10 years, the Old God and the treasure hunter sword spirit had been constantly paying attention to the terrifying and unapproachable black dot. The Old God knew better than anyone how much pain Chun Hao had suffered, but to be able to persist for 10 years without being destroyed, the Old God believed that no matter how long it took, Chun Hao would definitely be able to survive this most difficult life and death situation. However, he did not expect that the outcome would still fail. No. Looking at the collapsing and shrinking space, 2 bright lights suddenly flashed in his eyes, like a drowning person who had grabbed the last straw to save his life. The collapse of the mental world should be completed in an instant. It shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't be like this. His consciousness has not completely dissipated. Definitely not. Succeed. You must succeed. Condense. Chi. Rumble. As Chun Hao waved his hand, boundless divine power burst out from his entire mind world under the Old God's control. The spirit spring, the mutated panther fruit, the spirit tree, and countless precious ores exploded in Chun Hao's mind world with a rumbling sound. They turned into endless mysterious runes and madly resisted the rapidly collapsing space. 5 divine beasts. Suppress. Roar. 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 Roars that reverberated through the world erupted from the mouths of the 5 divine beasts. Under Old God's control, the 5 divine beasts condensed into cosmic forms that were thousands of feet tall. They turned into 5 streams of light that descended from the sky and suppressed the 5 directions. In this state, Old God could not get close to Chun Hao in the terrifying black spot, nor could he awaken Chun Hao's nearly collapsing consciousness. Stopping Chun Hao's brain world from collapsing was the only thing he could do. It was also the only thing he could do to help Chun Hao. It was to buy him some time. So comfortable, the pain wasn't scary. Neither was the shattering of the soul. Chun Hao couldn't remember how many times he had been shattered. He also didn't know how many times the pain had exceeded his limit. However, he knew that he couldn't die. He had to face the pain and endure it. He didn't believe that he would be defeated by the pain. This kind of pain that came from the depths of the soul was something that no one could escape from. They could only endure it and face it. However, he had persevered. How many years had passed? How many long years had it been? Chun Hao didn't know. However, he knew that there was always a ray of hope in the world. As long as he persevered and persevered, there would be a day when he would overcome the most terrifying calamity in his life. However, the sudden increase in the soul's collapse this time was completely different from the previous collapses. After the soul turned into dust again, all the pain disappeared. It disappeared completely. Tianxi, sleep, sleep. You're very sleepy, sleep, you're tired. Rest, have a good sleep. His father, mother, and all the people that Chun Hao couldn't let go of appeared in the last strand of Chun Hao's consciousness. The endless pain disappeared. The peaceful, warm, and caring words made Chun Hao's last strand of consciousness become hazy and muddle-headed. A wave of endless drowsiness gushed out, making him want to sleep. He wanted to be free. Rumble, so noisy. A series of explosions suddenly appeared in his consciousness. Chun Hao, who was about to fall into a deep sleep, suddenly woke up with a start. His drowsiness was completely gone. So dangerous. Condense for me. Hiss. 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 The collapse in his mind suddenly stopped. In the Soul Palace, the soul fragments started to gather again. Without the influence of pain, Chun Hao's recovery speed reached an unprecedented speed. A strand of consciousness grew rapidly. In an instant, it emitted a dazzling light. When the soul was completely condensed, a complete soul that was 100,000 times smaller than the original soul appeared in the Soul Palace. What was more shocking was that the originally illusory soul now seemed to have turned into a crystal stone, emitting an extremely pure pressure of consciousness. The real transformation was a success. Earth Celestial. My soul strength has reached the Earth Celestial stage. Earth Celestial stage, void crystallization, crystallization of thought. Endless comfort grew in the depths of Chun Hao's soul. He could clearly feel that his consciousness was many times stronger than before. His soul perception had reached a terrifying level. At this moment, he didn't try to perceive it deliberately, but the enormous area of Winter Plum Hall appeared clearly in his mind. This was a transformation, a real transformation of the soul. Chun Hao, Master! Master! Just when Chun Hao was still immersed in the excitement of this transformation, the excited voices of the old god and the treasure-hunting sword spirit suddenly appeared in Chun Hao's mind. Old god! Treasure hunting! How did I get to Winter Plum Hall? Where are they? How long have I been unconscious? 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or longer. Hearing the words of the old god and the treasure-hunting sword spirit, Chun Hao suddenly remembered what had happened before he fell into a coma. His body had not reacted at all for 10 years. At this moment, he was drenched in cold sweat, and his heart was filled with worries. In his mind, he had been unconscious for a very long time. 10 years. Master, you have been unconscious for 10 years. You are finally awake, finally awake. The old god suppressed the excitement in his heart and said, 10 years. 10 years? That's good. That's good. Tell me what happened after I fell into a coma. Okay. This is the holy land of the boundless land, Elite Academy X. Hiss hiss hiss. Countless silhouettes flew in the air in teams. There were at most a few hundred people, and at least 3 to 5 people. They filled the entire sky, and even the weakest among them was at the Destiny realm. Everyone's faces were brimming with confidence and anticipation as they stared at the holy land that they were about to reach, Elite Academy X. Tens of thousands of rays of multicolored light, the auspicious light soared to the heavens, one simply couldn't see the end of it. What a dense spiritual energy of heaven and earth. I can actually sense the laws of heaven and earth here? As expected of the Holy Land. This is 100 times, 1,000 times better than our Great Hall. The young disciples of Cold Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall who had registered for the competition all revealed shocked expressions as they spoke with astonishment. This is still outside the boundaries of the Elite Academy. When you reach the area enveloped by the auspicious light, you will understand how strong the Elite Academy is. This is the holy land of our limitless planet, the cradle of true experts. Just the area it occupies has a radius of 100 million miles. Apotheon Yunwei explained. As long as you can pass the selection competition and become a student of the Elite Academy, even the lowest level student will be able to get your own palace in the Elite Academy. I dare not say that cultivating here will allow you to advance by leaps and bounds, but compared to cultivating in our Great Hall, it will be 100 times better. Juan and Lele are the best proof. Work hard. Hum. Before Apotheon Han Mei could finish her sentence, her expression suddenly changed, and her voice stopped abruptly. What's wrong? Apotheon Yunwei frowned and asked. Something big happened in the Great Hall. As Han Mei answered, a ray of light flashed, and the Hall Master token appeared in her hand. Her mind directly entered it to read the message. Under normal circumstances, only urgent matters would be sent directly to her through the Hall Master token. For ordinary emergencies, one message would be enough. But this time, there were 10 consecutive messages. Even Han Mei Immortal Venerable became nervous when she didn't see the message. Hall Master Chun Hao has awakened. Hall Master Chun Hao has awakened. Hall Master Chun Hao wants to participate in the competition. Please register for him. Hall Master Chun Hao has left the Great Hall. What? 10 consecutive messages that were exactly the same made Han Mei's eyes widen. Her hand that was holding the token trembled slightly. Han Mei, are you okay? Apotheon Yunwei asked nervously. Because of the relationship between Chun Hao, Chun Shui, and the rest, the relationship between the two great halls had long been like one. The friendship between Apotheon Yunwei and Han Mei had reached the point where they could talk about anything. Lingning Huan, Lingning Lu, Chun Nan, Chun Yen, and countless other disciples were looking at Venerable Han Mei nervously. They were slightly surprised in their hearts. After all, as a hall master, it was rare for Venerable Han Mei to be so nervous and excited in front of others. Chun Hao has awakened. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 474. Is this true? Brother Hao. Master, we want to go back. Venerable Han Mei's short words made Venerable Yunwei, the sisters, Chun Nan and Chun Yan's expressions change greatly. The sisters wanted to leave immediately. Wait, Venerable Han Mei stopped the two and said, he's already here. Master, ask him about the situation first. Venerable Han Mei directly sent a message through the Palace Master token. After a moment, her expression became shocked again, and she said, Realm unknown? What do you mean? Venerable Yunwei asked. He wants us to help him register for the competition, but the Deputy Palace Master can't sense his realm. How is this possible? Your Deputy Palace Master is an Earth Immortal. How can he not sense his aura? Venerable Yunwei said in surprise. Even a low-level cultivator could roughly sense the aura of a high-level cultivator, unless the cultivator had a secret art that could hide his aura. But high-level cultivators could sense the aura of an Earth Immortal cultivator, especially an Earth Immortal cultivator. Even if he had a secret art that could hide his aura, it would be impossible to hide. But the Deputy Palace Master couldn't sense Chen Hao's aura, which was a bit abnormal. Venerable Han Mei also shook her head in puzzlement and said, "There are too many strange things about this kid." After sleeping for 10 years, he woke up. Yunwei, take everyone to Elite Academy X. I'll go to Spirit City to pick him up and help him register. Huan, Lei, wait for me at Elite Academy X. Okay. Oh, Venerable Yunwei and the sisters replied. Although the sisters, Chen Nan and Chen Yen, wanted to see Chen Hao immediately, if Han Mei Immortal Venerable brought them along, the speed would definitely be much slower. Venerable Han Mei's figure turned into a stream of light and broke through the sky. Spirit City. It was the most powerful city in the Central Continent. Under normal circumstances, only Immortal Supremes were qualified to step into Spirit City. It was also the only city where all the Immortal Supremes in the Boundless Continent gathered, traded, and stepped out of the Boundless Star. In fact, as long as they had free time, many Immortal Venerables would be stationed in Spirit Realm City, including Han Mei and Yunwei. This was because Spirit Realm City also had a special function. Only cultivators with the qualifications to become members of Vast Universe Galaxy could use this function. This is Spirit City? What a mysterious aura! A handsome and otherworldly figure appeared in the teleportation array area. Tens of thousands of young disciples were lined up in 10 long lines, waiting to be tested. As for some Immortal Venerables, they were able to pass through unimpeded. Clearly, these young disciples were the ones who had signed up for the Elite Academy's qualifiers. Fang Handong will definitely win the first place in this preliminaries. Who can rival him with the combat capability of a human celestial? It's not something we can compare to. That's right. This Fang Handong is really a man of great fortune. He was able to reach the half-step human immortal realm in a remote place like the Eastern Continent at such a young age. He really lives up to his reputation as a once-in-a-thousand-years genius in the Boundless Continent. Even the top few monstrous geniuses in the Elite Academy can't be compared to him. That's right. It's said that the Eastern Continent is rather barren. Whether it's the relics, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, or the cultivation resources, they are all miles away from us. But for him to reach such a level in the Eastern Continent, it's absolutely incredible. Hundreds of thousands of people are participating in the qualifiers. I just hope that I won't be in the same group as him. Otherwise, I'll definitely be eliminated. Haha. If I'm really in the same group, I'll be too unlucky. There are more than 300,000 people in a group of 100, but there are more than 3,000 groups. The chances are very small. Moreover, when we're grouping, we'll naturally take into account our battle records. As long as we're strong enough, there won't be a situation where the strong meet the strong. Otherwise, if I'm in the same group as him, wouldn't that be burying a genius like me? In the group, there was a buzz of discussion. Most of the discussions were related to the Elite Academy's qualifiers. What surprised Chen Hao was that among the tens of thousands of people, at least 1/3 of them mentioned a name, Fang Handong. What surprised Chen Hao even more was that this Fang Handong was actually from the Eastern Continent. There's actually such a powerful genius in the Eastern Continent? Fang Handong. Combat power of the mortal-immortal realm. A monstrous genius in the boundless continent that only appears once in 1,000 years. Chosen by the Palace Master of the Limitless Demon Palace. disciple of the limitless demon palace's heartbroken hall? Out of curiosity, Chern Hao didn't filter out the discussions of the crowd. In a moment, some information about Fong Handong appeared in Chern Hao's ears. Originally, Chern Hao was just slightly amazed that there was always someone better than him. However, when he heard that this monstrous genius named Fong Handong was actually from the Heartbroken Hall, he frowned slightly. Fong Handong, disciple of the Eastern Continent's demon sect, not old, just over 30 years old, suddenly rose to prominence in the Central Continent half a year ago, rejected countless forces and took the initiative to join the Heartbroken Hall. Fong Handong, Fong Handong. Could it be? It can't be so coincidental, right? Back then, the Zhenyuan kingdom did their best to help me find him, but in the end, they couldn't find him. Later on, even the Xuanwu Empire was mobilized, but there was no news. Basically, I can conclude that that guy should have died in the wilderness, and not even his bones were left. After all, he was just a small martial master at that time, and he was also seriously injured. However, this name, it's just that the order is reversed. Even if it's Dongfang Han, his age is correct, and he's from the Eastern Continent. However, even if he didn't die, he should have stepped into the Eastern Continent's immortal realm. How did he end up in the demon sect? Could it be that it was during the chaos of the three realms 10 years ago? However, if this Fong Handong is really him, how could he be unknown in the immortal realm? Chern Hao thought about it and felt that it was unlikely that it was Xiao Jihan, who was also Dongfang Han. This was because it was a little inconceivable. However, with all these coincidences, he couldn't completely rule out this possibility. In fact, only Chern Hao would link Fong Handong and Dongfang Han together. It couldn't be helped. When Dongfang Han escaped, it was Chern Hao's biggest worry. Hello, are you also a disciple participating in the Elite Academy's challenge? Just as Chern Hao was gathering information about Fong Handong, a young cultivator standing in front of Chern Hao turned around and looked at Chern Hao. There was a hint of curiosity in his eyes as he asked. Yes. Chern Hao looked at the person and replied. How should I address you, brother? My name is Li Chao, a disciple of the Li family of Ocean Jade City. Chern Hao, a disciple of the Winter Plum Hall of the Limitless Immortal Palace. Chern Hao smiled slightly. A disciple of the Limitless Immortal Palace? When I saw that you were alone, I thought that you were from a small family like me. I didn't expect Brother Chern to be a disciple of the Limitless Immortal Palace. No wonder I couldn't sense your realm aura. This should be the Limitless Immortal Palace's secret technique to restrain one's aura, right? You can't sense my realm aura. Hearing the young cultivator's words, Chern Hao was slightly stunned. F***ck. I didn't expect that after my soul materialized, it would restrain to such a realm. After waking up and learning about the situation from the old god, Chern Hao immediately paid a visit to the Vice Palace Master of the Winter Plum Hall and rushed to Spirit City. He didn't even carefully check the condition of his body. If he hadn't heard the cultivator's words, Chern Hao wouldn't have realized how much his aura had been retracted. Hee. Chern Hao smiled as a reply to Li Chao. At the same time, he released a little bit of his aura. Amazing! Brother Chen is only at the early stage of the manifestation realm. To be able to restrain your aura to such a realm, clearly your potential is very high. In a few years, Brother Chen will definitely become a disciple of the Elite Academy. Probably much faster than me. Haha. Brother Chen, don't mind me. I'm just speaking the truth. Without the strength of the late stage of the manifestation realm, it's basically impossible to pass the first round of elimination. Although I'm at the late stage of the manifestation realm, passing the first round of elimination is not a big problem. However, the following tests have nothing to do with realms. They are all tests of potential. If I had Brother Chen's potential, I would definitely pass, Li Chao said with a smile. Li Chao was a cultivator at the late stage of the blessed realm, but he could not sense Chen Hao's aura. This indeed surprised him. After all, Chen Hao was right in front of him, and this was completely different from the state of using a concealment technique. In such a situation, unless he used a spiritual treasure to conceal his realm aura, he had to have practiced the concealment technique to the extreme. How many people in the cultivation world had spiritual treasures? Therefore, Li Chao concluded that Chen Hao was a super genius with great talent and comprehension. It's okay. Brother Li, I've been in seclusion. This is the first time I'm participating in the Elite Academy's qualifiers. What are the rounds of the qualifiers? Oh? Brother Chen doesn't even know this? It's very simple. The entire competition has two major rounds. The first is the elimination round, which is a test of absolute combat power. 100 people will be divided into small groups. The group will have a free-for-all. The final winner will enter the second major round of the competition. Under normal circumstances, those who can pass the free-for-all are basically experts above the late stage of the manifestation realm. Of course, there are exceptions for demon-level geniuses. Every year, there are hundreds of demon-level geniuses. The second major round is the test of potential. The final ranking is also based on potential. The first round of elimination is just to eliminate people. The Elite Academy is most concerned about potential. Those who pass the qualifiers are basically certain that they will be able to advance to the Immortal Prime Realm in the future. So simple? Chen Hao was slightly surprised. Of course. Don't tell me you think there will be a huge battle? Haha. I thought so too when I first participated. Before Chen Hao reached Spirit City, Immortal Prime Han Mei had already arrived at Spirit City. The office of Wuji Elite Academy was stationed here. Immortal Prime Han Mei, what are you doing? Helping one of my disciples register. Register? He's an elite guardian. This is his information. Please help to enter it as soon as possible. Okay. Elite Guardian, congratulations, Immortal Prime Han Mei. It's harder to have this title than to become a disciple of the Elite Academy. I remember that 10 years ago you had someone called Chen Hao. After that, I heard that something happened. I didn't expect that there would be another one. This is the Chen Hao from 10 years ago, Immortal Prime Han Mei said calmly. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Even Old God didn't know what happened. He only guessed that it was because of his mutated soul. However, Chen Hao definitely couldn't tell Venerable Han Mei about this. How do you feel now? I mean, your soul is injured. It's okay, I should have recovered. Vice Palace Master said he couldn't determine your realm. What's going on? Completely restrain your aura and let me see. Cough. Okay. Chen Hao slightly hesitated but still obediently retracted his aura. Everyone guessed that his coma was due to his soul being injured. However, in the past 10 years, not only did Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei not give up on him, they also didn't interfere with his relationship with Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi and the others. This made Chen Hao feel very grateful. Chen Hao obviously knew that the reason why the two didn't interfere was because of the girl's insistence. However, no matter if it was for the girls or for some other reason, it was very rare in the cruel and ruthless cultivation world. Moreover, in the past 10 years, the palace he was in was always in a state of top-quality spiritual energy. Just this treatment alone was the best treatment among all the disciples of Cold Plum Hall. Hiss, Chen Hao didn't even need to do it deliberately. The aura around his body disappeared completely into thin air, and not a trace of it remained. I really can't sense it? Even I can't sense it? At first, Venerable Han Mei still had a skeptical attitude. However, now that she saw Chen Hao, she was really shocked. You've cultivated a unique skill that can shield your aura? You can say so. After I fell into that state, the only thing I could do for 10 years was to restrain my aura as much as possible. Otherwise, my soul might be destroyed, Chun Hao said as he communicated with Old God in his mind. According to Old God, if he told the truth, Venerable Han Mei would definitely know that Chun Hao's soul had transformed to the realm of an expert in the Earth celestial realm. How shocking would it be if he was only in the early stage of the creation realm? It was more appropriate to say so. Firstly, it could prove that his soul injury had basically recovered. Secondly, it wouldn't be too shocking. So, you've comprehended a unique skill that can shield your aura? You're only in the creation realm, but you can hide it from my eyes. So, this unique skill is at least in the Earth celestial realm. Fortunately, you're really surprising. Someone else signed up? It must be an elite guardian. These guys are really annoying. It's as if they're afraid that others don't know that they're elite guardians. Why did they have to sign up so late? We have to adjust the groups. Who is it? Wuji Immortal Palace. Cold Plum Hall, Chun Hao. What? This guy woke up? It should be. The information is correct. This guy signed up 10 years ago. At that time, he attracted a lot of attention from the higher-ups. However, later, the information collected confirmed that he burned 800 years of his life and killed many experts at the peak of the late stage of the creation realm. His soul was seriously injured and he fell into a deep sleep. Now that he's awake, I'm afraid he's useless. Of course. 800 years of life is equivalent to 4/5 of his soul being destroyed. It would be strange if he's not useless. At this time, he still dares to sign up. Moreover, there's no news of him waking up. Otherwise, his status as an elite guardian would definitely be revoked. Jin Tian, do we need to arrange a special group with him? There's no need. Even though he's a disciple of Wuji Immortal Palace, he's already useless. You can arrange any group you want. I don't care, the old man called Jin Tian said. That's good. This is someone that Fan Suixin hates to the core. Why don't we replace Chen Nan and put him in Fang Handong's group? That's not good. It's a little too obvious. This guy is definitely useless, but his status as an elite guardian hasn't been revoked. If we do that, we're not giving face to the alliance. What do you mean? Just throw him into a group of experts at the late stage of the creation realm under Fan Suixin. His soul is seriously injured, and he's only at the early stage of the creation realm. I believe that the alliance won't say anything about our arrangement. Elite guardians are all monstrous geniuses who are at least 2 small realms above them. If he can't deal with an opponent at the late stage of the creation realm, it's none of our business. That's right. Let's do that. There were a large number of contestants. When the normal registration ended, the first elimination round of the mixed battle began. Under normal circumstances, the groups were coordinated according to the realms and battle records of all the contestants to avoid the situation where the strong met the strong. Moreover, the disciples of the major forces, especially the 3 major palaces, would not be in the same group. This was also a treatment that only the super forces had. Wuji Elite Academy. They're here, Apotheon Yunwei, who was sitting in the courtyard, suddenly stood up and stared at the void in the distance with a trace of expectation. Chen Yen clenched her fists excitedly, and her petite body trembled a little. The faint worry between her eyebrows had long disappeared, and it was replaced by incomparable excitement and expectation. The sisters were also nervous and excited, and their faces shone with a touch of excitement. Chen Nan took a deep breath and stared in the direction that Apotheon Yunwei was looking at with a sharp gaze. At this moment, except for Apotheon Yunwei, even the sisters who had stepped into the human immortal realm couldn't see the slightest clue. After a moment, 2 figures flying quickly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. 10 years, staring at the handsome figure who was obviously also very excited, She could no longer suppress her emotions. "Brother!" His. Chen Yan was the first to fearlessly rush over. The sisters, who had wanted to rush over, forcibly held themselves back. They could only stare blankly at the figure. It was the first time in 10 years that the figure had appeared in front of them with a clear mind. Chen Nan clenched his fists tightly. He, who had always been cold and calm, was now full of excitement and admiration. Although his brother's aura was not as strong as his, it didn't affect his brother's lofty image in his heart. How could his brother be measured by his cultivation stage? Xiao Yin. Chen Hao smiled and opened his arms. Just like before, Chen Yin clung tightly to Chen Hao's neck and rubbed her face hard on Chen Hao's face. Her eyes were full of tears, and she was so excited that she couldn't speak. "In 10 years, you've all surpassed me." When he slowly landed in front of everyone with Chen Yan in his arms, Chen Hao looked at Chen Nan and the sisters and said with a trace of relief and excitement in his voice, "Brother Hao, brother! Senior brother Chen Hao! Senior brother Chen Hao!" Everyone greeted Chen Hao. However, aside from the sisters and Chen Nan, the others looked at Chen Hao respectfully, but there was also a hint of curiosity and doubt in their eyes. 10 years ago, Chen Hao was a monstrous genius that they couldn't hope to reach. Now, Chen Hao was only in the initial stage of Blessed Realm, and his soul had been severely injured. Could he still have his former innate talent and fighting strength? That was unknown. But even so, no one dared to underestimate him. Forget about the fact that the women who had confirmed their relationship with Chen Hao did not give up on Chen Hao. Even Chen Hao's younger siblings displayed unparalleled talent. Even if Chen Hao was a cripple, he was not someone they could underestimate. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 476. Little guy, it seems like you've recovered well. When Chen Hao put down Chen Yan and bowed to Venerable Yunwei with cupped fists, Venerable Yunwei, who had been staring at him for a long time, said with a faint smile, "It's okay." Chen Hao replied, Huan, Lei, you two stay here. The rest of you go back to your rooms to meditate. I'll inform you when the results of the groups are out." "Yes, Master." Chen Nan and Chen Yan looked at Apotheosis Yunwei. "Go. I know you two want to talk to your brother, but tomorrow's competition will be the most difficult one. As long as you two can pass it, you two can enter Elite Academy X. Prepare well. Chen Hao has already woken up. There will be plenty of time in the future." Apotheosis Yunwei said. "Little Nan, little Yen, go. I'll talk to you later." Chen Hao said, "Oh, burning 800 years of your lifespan and being in a coma for 10 years. Although I don't know what you're talking about, it should be a mutation in your soul residence. I really want to know how strong you are now." Apotheosis Han Mei and Apotheosis Yunwei brought Chen Hao and the two sisters into the cultivation room specially arranged for her. Their expressions were serious as they looked at Chen Hao expectantly. "My strength, there's no need to say more. Lei, come and try." Apotheosis Han Mei waved her hand at Chen Hao and said directly, "Ah?" Leng Ningel was slightly stunned. There's no need, right?" Chen Hao said, "Of course, why not?" Apotheosis Han Mei said, Lei, you don't have to worry. Your master and I will be watching. You just have to display the strength of a late-stage manifestation realm and slowly increase it. There won't be a problem. No, Uncle, I mean, I can't do it alone," Leng Ningel said. "Can't? You're already in the human immortal realm, and your talent is extremely strong. Why can't you do it? Girl, it seems that your heart has been completely imprinted by this brat. Well, Huan will go with you," Venerable Han Mei said. Then she looked at Chen Hao and said, "Do your best. Don't hold back in front of us." "All right. Huan, Lei, both of you must show mercy." Chen Hao revealed a wisp of a smile as he spoke. How can we be a match for you when you're suppressing your cultivation? Lung Ninghuan whispered. Apotheosis Yunwei said, You two girls. Enough with the nonsense. Let's begin. Both Senior Immortal Yunwei and Senior Immortal Han Mei thought that Ling Ninghuan and Ling Ninglu were traumatized by Chen Hao. After experiencing this battle, they should understand that with the improvement of their cultivation stage, their combat strength and combat talent would increase tremendously. Even if they suppressed their cultivation stage to the creation stage, their combat talent would still be at the human celestial stage. No matter how powerful Chen Hao was, how could his 10 years of silence be compared to their combined strength? However, they didn't know that Ling Ninghuan and Ling Ninglu knew better than them what Chen Hao had experienced in the past 10 years. The comforting words were not just to tell them that Chen Hao would wake up. The treasure-hunting sword spirit had said that once Chen Hao woke up, he would exceed everyone's expectations. It was also used to encourage them to cultivate wholeheartedly. At this time, although Chen Hao was still at the initial stage of the creation stage, he had the strength to kill someone at the peak of the late stage of the creation stage 10 years ago. How much stronger would he be now? Clang! Clang! After Senior Immortal Han Mei waved her hand to set up a more powerful bounded domain, the sisters directly unsheathed their swords. Chi! Chi! Directly at the peak of the late stage of the creation stage? Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei shook their heads helplessly when they saw the sisters' aura, but they didn't say anything. In their opinion, with the sisters' current combat strength, as long as they reached the late stage of the creation stage, they would be able to force Chen Hao to use all his strength. Come on, Chen Hao stared at the beautiful sisters, still standing there confidently. Yes. Brother Hao, you can't bully us. Chi. After the sisters finished speaking, they directly unsheathed their swords. The two of them had a tacit understanding. Sword light intertwined and instantly condensed into sword light that was full of mysterious runes. It also contained the vigorous true origin of an expert at the peak of the late stage of the creation stage. It covered Chen Hao. This scene made the two senior immortals speechless again. They were speechless at Chen Hao's arrogance, and even more speechless at the sisters' lack of confidence in their own strength. When the sisters were at the peak of the late stage of the creation stage, their combined strength was comparable to that of a half-step human immortal. Now that they had become human immortals, their state of mind and use of the laws of heaven and earth had naturally improved tremendously. To them, controlling their strength at the peak of the late stage of the creation stage was like a high school student doing a primary school exam. It was naturally easier for them. However, in a moment, the two senior immortals widened their eyes and gasped. How is this possible? This, under the sisters' pincer attack, Chen Hao's aura was condensed to the extreme. His body moved erratically as he shuttled through the dense sword glares, as if he was not affected by any force. It seemed like he was in a perilous situation, but he easily entered the sisters' blind spots and loopholes. His palms would sometimes form swords, and at other times they would form fists. The power of his attacks was not strong, and they could not even compare to that of a normal cultivator in the later stage of Blessed Realm. However, he had infused the will of the sword and the laws of the world into his every move, and he was able to deflect the sisters' attacks with little effort, rendering them useless. Is this his real fighting talent? Han Mei. It seems that we still underestimated him. This guy has been sleeping for 10 years. Not only does he not show any signs of soul injury, but his understanding of the laws of heaven and earth has also improved. Just the combat strength he is showing now is much stronger than before. In fact, the fact that he can comprehend the unique skill of concealing the aura of his stage and the ultimate skill of the Earth's celestial stage has already explained the problem. Senior Immortal Yunwei said. She had already communicated with Venerable Immortal Han Mei in secret. She had already confirmed that Chen Hao's soul injury wouldn't have any effect. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to create an ultimate technique to conceal one's aura. This was because it required a very powerful soul force and comprehension ability. However, they could not figure it out. They thought that it should be caused by the secret hidden in Chern Hao's body. It was very likely that it was a powerful inheritance that surprised them. However, the current situation made them understand that it was not as simple as inheriting a unique skill. Otherwise, Chern Hao would not be able to use the laws of heaven and earth to such a superb level. Even an ordinary expert at the early stage of the Earth's celestial stage could not do it so smoothly and confidently. It's a pity that he has just woken up. If he is given half a year, he will definitely be able to reach the middle stage of the creation stage, or even the late stage. At that time, even an ordinary expert at the human celestial stage would not be able to do anything to him. Well, true essence is what he lacks the most. Otherwise, Huan and Lele would lose to him. With such a level of comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth, it is only a matter of time before he enters the human celestial stage. In the battle between the three of them, the sisters couldn't do anything to Chern Hao. Because of the disparity in Zhen Yuan, Chern Hao's attacks couldn't do anything to the sisters either. On the surface, it seemed that it was impossible for any of them to defeat the other in a short period of time. Only when one side ran out of energy could the victor be decided. In this case, if the beautiful sisters were really at the peak of the late stage of the creation stage, it was hard to say who would win. However, the beautiful sisters were human celestials who suppressed their stage. Their true essence was extremely powerful, which was not something that Chern Hao could compare with. It depended on how long Chern Hao could hold on. Master, is it okay? The competition will start tomorrow. It's not good to consume too much energy. After 15 minutes, Chern Hao stopped the battle and said, "Well, very good. I didn't expect that after 10 years of sleep, your comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth would improve to such an extent. As long as you don't encounter Fang Handong, the disciple of the Broken Heart Hall of the Limitless Demon Palace, you can easily win the group battle tomorrow," Senior Immortal Yunwei said. "Chern Hao, if you encounter the disciples of the Broken Heart Hall of the Limitless Demon Palace, the Thunder Hall, the White Cloud Hall, the 1,000 Miles Hall, and the Green Cloud Hall, kill them if you can, especially the disciples of the Broken Heart Hall." Senior Immortal Han Mei's expression changed slightly, and she said in a low voice, "In the past 10 years, many disciples of our two halls have been killed by them. Even Huyan Aobua and the others would have lost their lives if we hadn't strengthened our protection." "Understood," Chern Hao replied, and then frowned slightly and said, "Master, do you know what Fang Handong looks like? And his detailed information? What are you going to do? With your current strength, you are no match for him at all. Moreover, after Fang Handong participates in the preliminaries, he will definitely trigger heaven's punishment. Once he steps into the human celestial realm, it is very likely that he will become an invincible celestial. In the group battle, no matter who we are, including you, once you encounter him, you must forfeit. Otherwise, you will definitely be killed by him." "I want to know more," Chern Hao said without changing his expression. "What? Chern Hao has woken up? He has been assigned to Zhao Jianchuan's group? Haha. Very good, very good. This guy who is destined to be a good-for-nothing still dares to participate in the competition after waking up. Ha ha. I guess they don't expect that the person in charge of the groups has been bribed by us. Ha ha." Fan Suixin and the others had arrived at the elite academy. At this moment, they suddenly received a message from the staff of the elite academy. "Master, what did you say?" Fang Handong, who was sitting beside Fan Suixin and seemed to be on an equal footing, suddenly changed his expression when he heard Fan Suixin's words. His aura could not help but burst out with a strong murderous intent. He looked at Fan Suixin and asked in a trembling voice, "Chern Hao, the Chern Hao who killed dozens of super geniuses of the Limitless Demon Palace, has woken up. Handong, what are you doing? Arrange it for me. I want to kill him with my own hands. This. Handong, I know you are good to me, but he is already a good-for-nothing. Zhao Jianchuan has no problem killing him. Why do you need to do it? That Chun Nan is more important in comparison, and the talent he has shown is also superb. No, master, I want to kill him with my own hands. As a member of the demon sect in the Eastern continent, 10 years ago, when he defeated the demon sect alone, I swore to kill him with my own hands. Master, please contact him immediately. I am afraid it will be too late. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 477. Handong, I'm afraid it's not easy. The news I just received also explained the situation. After all, Chun Hao still has the title of Elite Guardian. If we assign him to you, it will be too disrespectful to the Alliance. It's just a title. In the previous battle, he was in a coma for 10 years. His soul must have been severely injured. He's already a good-for-nothing. Why would the Alliance care about him? Moreover, as long as they pay attention to our arrangement, who can't see that there's a problem with this grouping? The hatred between our palaces, Han Mei Palace and Yun Wei Palace, is already out in the open. And I'm also an elite guardian. Can't they tell who's more important? Master, tell them that I, Handong, will remember this kindness and arrange it for me no matter what. Dongfang Han said arrogantly but calmly. He knew very well that if he missed this opportunity, the chances of killing Chun Hao would be very small. Because at this moment, he had returned to his original appearance. At least, many people in Limitless Demon Palace had seen his current appearance. Once he showed up in this preliminaries, everyone would know his true appearance. Others might not recognize him, but how could Chun Hao not recognize him? Okay. Fan Suixin did not expect Fang Handong to hate Chun Hao so much. This also made him vaguely understand why Fang Handong chose to join Broken Heart Palace. How could this be? 4 hours later, Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei, who received the grouping information on time, hurriedly glanced at the situation and their expressions became extremely angry. At this moment, Chun Hao, Chun Nan, Chun Yen, and more than 100 disciples who participated in this competition were all gathered in the hall, waiting for their grouping information. Seeing the expressions of Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei, everyone felt a little uneasy, especially those who were weaker. Humph, there must be something wrong with the person in charge of grouping. Senior Immortal Han Mei said. It's Fan Suixin. No, to be exact, it should be Fang Handong. Otherwise, it's impossible to be so obvious. Senior Immortal Yun Wei said. No, Han Mei, we have to report this to the palace master. This is too much. It's useless. The list has been determined. Even the palace master can't change it. Although what they did was obvious, but it could be considered as meeting the criteria for grouping. With Fang Handong's current status, the palace masters of the Limitless Demon Palace and the Demon Palace wouldn't care about such trivial matters. Then what should we do? Are we going to be bullied just like that? So what if it's a year late? What else can we do? Venerable Han Mei said. After she finished speaking, she looked at everyone and said, Now, I will send you your group information, Chun Nan, Chun Yen, Bailey Chingfeng, Wu Qianhua, Su Xiangjie. All 47 of you must be careful. This year, the most important thing is to participate, Master. The expressions of the 47 disciples who were called out, including Chun Nan and Chun Yen, became extremely furious. The groups they were in actually had 5 disciples from the Limitless Demon Palace, the Broken Heart Hall, the Thunder Hall, the White Cloud Hall, the 1,000 Miles Hall, and the Green Cloud Hall. Moreover, each group had the strongest person at the peak of the late stage of the manifestation realm. How could there be such a coincidence? How could there be such a high probability among more than 300,000 participants? More importantly, these 47 people were all hopeful to pass the first round of the Battle Royale. Moreover, as long as a few of them passed the Battle Royale, they would have the confidence to become a disciple of the elite academy. This was simply a naked encirclement. Master, what about me? At this moment Chen Hao asked. Chen Hao. Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei both looked at Chen Hao. You can only forfeit and wait for next year. We also didn't expect them to be so shameless. They even tampered with the groups. It's too late to say anything now. Your opponent is Fang Handong. Venerable Han Mei said. Fang Handong. Hearing Venerable Han Mei's words, most of the disciples sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Chen Hao with sympathy. Fang Handong. Chen Hao frowned slightly. His combat power is comparable to an expert in the human immortal realm. If you meet him, he will definitely kill you. With his current status, as long as he doesn't do anything too obvious, no one will hold him accountable. Just now we also told you that on our side, no matter who meets him, they have to forfeit. This is also something that can't be helped. I didn't expect them to not even care about your identity as an elite guardian. It's really shameless. Moreover, you registered the latest, so it's unlikely that you will be in the same group as him. This is obviously a last-minute adjustment. They don't even give face to the alliance. Originally, I wasn't sure if Fang Handong was Dongfang Han. Now, it seems that he is. Chen Hao thought to himself. The information he got from Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei was that Fang Handong's original ugly face was too different from Dongfang Han's in terms of expression and aura. However, Chen Hao didn't deny it. After all, what he saw was only the image simulated by Venerable Han Mei, and it wasn't simulated by Venerable Han Mei herself. But now, hearing Venerable Han Mei's words, he was a little more certain. Thinking of this, Chen Hao no longer hesitated. His eyes flashed fiercely as he looked at the two venerable immortals and said, Masters, I've been waiting for this battle for a long time. I must fight. What do you mean? Hearing Chen Hao's words, everyone was surprised. He's from the Eastern Continent. Although you got the information that he's from the demon path of the Eastern Continent, in fact, he should be from the immortal path of the Eastern Continent. Moreover, if I'm not wrong, he joined the Broken Heart Hall for me. Fang Handong. Dongfang Han. You may not know, but Xiao Nan and Xiao Yan should remember. Brother, you said, he's Xiao Jihan? Chen Nan's expression changed slightly. Basically, it's confirmed. I didn't expect him to come this far. I can also completely forget the knot in my heart. What's the specific situation? Venerable Han Mei could not help but ask. The situation is very simple. He's an enemy of mine. To him, we can be considered as irreconcilable. Masters, you don't have to worry. In fact, my strength is not what you see. Chen Hao smiled slightly and said, At least, I have no problem staying alive, you. Even the human immortals of the Broken Heart Hall are no match for him. How's Huan Huan and Lei Lei's talent compared to the human immortals he defeated? Huan Huan and Lei Lei are only at the peak of the late-stage creation realm. I'm only at the early-stage creation realm. Boom. Chen Hao's aura suddenly erupted without restraint. He knew that words alone would not be able to convince the two venerable immortals. He had just woken up and wanted to keep a low profile, but the environment did not allow him to do so. Almost in an instant, an extremely terrifying pressure engulfed the entire hall. Swish. Swish. In addition to the two celestial primes, even the beautiful sisters at the human celestial realm screamed. They couldn't help but activate their protective, upstanding chi. All the disciples at the creation realm turned pale. At this moment, they felt as if their souls were being crushed by a mountain. Chen Hao's figure, which was not very tall, became unreachable, giving them a horrible feeling that they were powerless to resist. This feeling only appeared when the two celestial primes were angry. Chen Hao's aura lasted for a few seconds before it suddenly disappeared. At this time, everyone widened their eyes in horror. Brother! Chen Nan clenched his fists excitedly and stared at Chen Hao, saying excitedly, "I knew it! My brother is the strongest! The strongest! What a pure true essence!" Venerable Han Mei murmured, "Brat, if you hadn't met Fong Handong, wouldn't you have hidden it from us again?" Venerable Yun Wei said with surprise, relief, and anger. Only the sisters smiled knowingly as they looked at each other. "You two know, don't you?" Venerable Han Mei glared at the sisters fiercely. "Ah, Master. We don't know, we really don't know. Then why are you laughing? When I asked you to test his strength, you were very strange. This, Master, we just guessed that Brother Hao is definitely not as strong as he appears to be. Brother Hao has always been like this, to everyone, let alone the two of us. Even Sister Shui, Xiao Wu, and you are the same. No one knows how much Brother Hao is hiding." Ling Ninglu lowered her head, peeked at Chen Hao, and said cautiously, "Master, tomorrow's battle is a challenge for us, but also an opportunity. I still have some spiritual treasures here. If they are suitable, I will give them to them. I will give them to you early tomorrow morning. These spiritual treasures have been refined by my soul, so it will take some time to erase the imprints. I will go back to my room first." After Chen Hao finished speaking, he ignored everyone's surprise. He just saluted the two venerable celestials, nodded to the sisters, and disappeared directly in front of everyone. Spiritual treasures. Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei looked at each other, and then looked at everyone and said, "Go back and prepare yourselves to the best state." Yes. Everyone, who had been depressed just now, was excited at this moment, full of fighting spirit and confidence. "Master, is Brother Hao's pressure at the initial stage of the Earth Celestial stage?" Ling Ninghuan couldn't help but ask. "Lei and I can't help but activate our energy to resist. It's more than the initial stage of the Earth Celestial stage. This brat. I really don't know how many spiritual treasures he has refined. It is such a waste to refine such precious materials for creation stage cultivators. Who cares? Anyway, he has a lot of precious mineral veins. When their cultivation stages are improved, they can refine them again. It won't be a waste." "Oh, Huan Lei, what? Master. You can ask him for more materials. I can ask someone to refine your spiritual treasure sets again. Ask for as much as you can. Oh. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation." Chapter 478. Phew. Old God, have you sensed their situation clearly? In the cultivation room, Chen Hao sat cross-legged and said in his mind, "Refine as much as you can. Xiao Nan and Xiao Yen are in a full set. Try your best. The rest of you can refine a single set. Don't worry about comprehensiveness. It's either attack or defense. Otherwise, you may not have enough time. No problem. Just refine your true core strength. With your soul power at the peak of the late stage of the Earth Celestial stage, you can refine all your true core strength to a quality that surpasses the creation stage in a short time. The only thing you lack is quantity. If you can break through to the middle stage of the creation stage before the competition, it will be safer. Okay. I'll try my best. Time is too tight. I don't have any restrictions at all. Breaking through to the next stage is just refining my true core strength. In 10 years, my soul power has reached the peak of the late stage of the Earth Celestial stage. The effect of the primary outline of the Great Tao should be greatly improved. If there are no accidents, I can break through to the middle stage of the creation stage before the competition tomorrow. Okay, let's start. Okay. Chi. With Chen Hao's voice, A powerful restriction spell suddenly condensed in the cultivation room. Splash! Immediately, a majestic spiritual spring gushed out from between Chun Hao's eyebrows and instantly filled the huge cultivation room. Chun Hao became naked and immersed in the spiritual spring. So what if I'm a human celestial? My soul power has reached the peak of the late stage of the earth celestial stage. The law of heaven and earth and the sword principle will are at a level that the creation stage and even the human celestial stage can't reach. The only thing lacking is the density of my true core strength. I'd like to see how much I can improve in one night. Let's start. Hiss! In an instant, Chun Hao entered the state of thoughtless tranquility. Today, after 10 years, Chun Hao finally began his first cultivation. The general outline of the great Tao floated in Chun Hao's mind. He recognized every word and understood every sentence. However, to the previous Chun Hao, it was impossible for him to grasp the profoundness contained within. And now, Chun Hao was still purely reciting. He did not deliberately try to understand or comprehend, but after a short 10 minutes, an extremely mysterious aura slowly emerged from Chun Hao's body, causing the pure energy of heaven and earth in the spirit spring to surge into Chun Hao's body at a terrifying speed, faster and faster. It's as if I've comprehended something. It's just as if I've comprehended something. To think that the effects are so good. Sensing the terrifying rate of energy absorption, Chun Hao was pleasantly surprised. He almost jumped out of the state of thoughtless tranquility. This speed was 100 times faster than when he hadn't comprehended the primary outline of the great Tao. Calm down, calm down. This shouldn't just be because of the general outline of the great Tao. The main reason should still be my soul. My soul is already at the peak of the late stage of the earth celestial stage. Apart from my body, I am at the earth celestial stage. Even without the general outline of the great Tao, I can still improve quickly. The only restriction is that the strength of my body can't keep up. If the strength of my body can reach the late stage of the creation stage, it should be as simple as recovering after exhausting my true core strength. Yes, it must be so. Now I should refine my body, not condense my true core strength. Refine for me. Boom. Thinking of this, Chun Hao did not hesitate any longer. The majestic and pure true core strength instantly began to circulate crazily in his meridians, and violently surged into his 5 viscera, 6 bowels, and every cell in his body. Crack, 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 hiss, hiss, hiss. In an instant, under the crazy refining of Chun Hao, every cell in his body was in terrible pain. For an ordinary cultivator, this kind of pain would probably cause them to lose their minds and go mad. Not to mention refining their body, it would be a miracle if they didn't explode and die. But for Chun Hao, who had experienced 10 years of cruel soul refining, he felt nothing at all. There was not even a trace of fluctuation in his mind. What was this little bit of physical pain? Of course, there were 2 reasons why Chun Hao dared to do this. Firstly, it was because his physical body was a perfect combination of evolutionary genes. This was the legendary immortal body. The limit of what he could endure was far beyond that of an ordinary person. Secondly, time was of the essence. Chun Hao had to improve himself as quickly as possible. After all, although Chun Hao was full of confidence, he only understood the power that Dongfang Han had displayed. Just this alone was enough to make Chun Hao feel a little pressured. What if Dongfang Han was hiding an even more terrifying power? One could have confidence, but one could never underestimate the enemy at any time. Especially people like Dongfang Han, who could not be underestimated. Even if one used one's but to think, one could be sure that Dongfang Han's encounters were not worse than his. Otherwise, he would not have reached where he was today, let alone be known as the monstrous genius of the Eastern continent. The next day, early in the morning. We're here. Today's competition will be held here. It can't be? Such a small palace? Small? You'll know when you go in. Countless itinerant cultivators who were participating in the Elite Academy X for the first time were shocked when they saw the palace used for the competition. From the outside, the area it occupied was just a circular palace with a diameter of 1,000 meters. But when everyone stepped into the palace, they understood what was going on. Throwing in more than 300,000 participants was actually very loose. Obviously, it allowed for extremely strong spatial laws. It was like another world with no end in sight. It was a huge training field with a radius of tens of thousands of miles. In the center of the training field, there were a total of 100 arenas with a diameter of 500 miles. This training field is a treasure refined by the #1 expert of the boundless continent, who is also the dean of the Elite Academy X, Xiao Feng. In fact, it's a miniature world. From the outside, it only has a radius of 1,000 meters, but inside, it has a radius of tens of thousands of miles. It's not clear how big the limit is, and everything is under the control of Senior Xiao. He can change the scene as he pleases. Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei brought Chen Hao and the rest to the entrance of the palace. Seeing the puzzled expressions of the disciples, Venerable Han Mei revealed a look of respect and admiration as she spoke softly. #1 expert Xiao Feng? Chen Hao was slightly surprised. Is it strange? It's normal that you don't know. Not long after you came to the central continent, you were in a coma for 10 years. Our boundless star in the vast galaxy is just the most ordinary life planet. There are many life planets that are countless times stronger than us. Of course, there are also many that are weaker than us. And the reason why our boundless star can maintain its current stability is all because of Senior Xiao Feng. He's the only Deluo Jinxian of our boundless star. Without him, our boundless star would have become a slave planet. Any planet is like a family or a sect. It needs the support of a true expert to stand firm. And Senior Xiao Feng is the pillar of our boundless star. Alright, let's go in. Master, wait! At this moment, Lung Ningle suddenly said. What's wrong? Huyen Aobua, Meng Xiao, and the First King have all rushed back. Have you informed them? No. They just finished their training and didn't know that Brother Hao had woken up. They came to see Master and also watch Xiao Nan and Xiao Yan's competition. They'll be here soon. Ling Ningle revealed a smile as she looked at Chen Hao and said, They will definitely be surprised. Brother Chen. Haha. What a coincidence to meet you again. Greetings to the two celestial sovereigns. Just as everyone was waiting for Huyen Aobua and the others, 3 young cultivators quickly flew over. When one of them saw Chen Hao, he immediately revealed a look of surprise and greeted him from afar. At the same time, he respectfully bowed to Han Mei and Yun Wei. This guy was the cultivator Li Chao that Chen Hao met when he stepped into Spirit Realm City. Seems like you're quite lucky? Chen Hao also smiled and greeted him. Haha, indeed. There shouldn't be any pressure for me to pass the group stage. The opponents I'll be assigned to are basically the middle and early stage of the manifestation realm. As long as there isn't a monstrous genius like Brother Chen, there shouldn't be a problem. Congratulations! It's still too early to congratulate. I've already failed the second stage several times. I hope I can succeed this time. Brother Chen, I won't disturb you anymore. We'll go in first. Li Chao said as he cupped his fists and respectfully nodded to Han Mei and Yun Wei. He then flew towards the 2 young cultivators who were waiting for him and entered the palace together. Brotherly, how do you know the people from Han Mei Hall and Yun Wei Hall? The disciple you called Brother Chen Hao just now, is he called Chen Hao? You know Chen Hao? No, I've only heard of him. Oh, I met him when I was waiting for the assessment in Spirit Realm City. Brother Chen is very powerful. Although he's only at the early stage of the manifestation realm, his soul should be extremely powerful. When he converges his aura, I can't even sense the aura of his realm. It can't be. Haha, are you surprised? He's a genius disciple from the limitless immortal palace. He's not someone we can compare to, Li Chao said. It shouldn't be. According to my friend from the limitless demon palace, this Chen Hao was indeed a super genius. 10 years ago, he killed dozens of genius disciples from the limitless demon palace and formed a deep enmity with the limitless demon palace, Broken Heart Hall, and the other 4 halls. At that time, a genius from the Broken Star Hall, Soul Fighter, was killed by him. According to my friend, when the 3 realms of the eastern continent were in chaos, Soul Fighter used a secret technique to almost reach the human immortal realm. However, he was still killed by him. However, after that, this Chen Hao also fell into a coma. It's been 10 years since he woke up. According to my guess, he must have used a secret technique to severely injure his soul. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in a coma for 10 years, Li Chao sucked in a breath of cold air. So powerful. I didn't expect him to wake up, but he shouldn't be as strong as you said. If I'm not wrong, he should be using a spirit treasure to converge his aura. Brotherly, forgive me for being blunt, but you should stay away from him. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 479. Why? The Broken Heart Palace of the Limitless Devil Palace is very powerful now. They have a genius that only appears once in 1,000 years in the central continent. I know. I've heard countless people talking about him in the Spirit Realm City. His name is Fong Handong. The enmity between the Broken Heart Palace, Han Mei Palace and Yun Wei Palace was caused by Chen Hao. If you date Chen Hao, you might be implicated. How can we afford to offend such a person? Your family is too far away from our area. You definitely don't know the extent of the conflict between them. The talent that Fong Handong has shown has gained the favor of the palace master of the Limitless Devil Palace. It is said that he has already become the Tao companion of one of the palace master's favorite granddaughters. Not only the Limitless Devil Palace, but also many immortal venerables are trying to curry favor with him. Greetings. Ah, boss. Boss. Bo. Boss. Not long after Li Chao and the other 2 left, Huyen Aobua, Meng Xiao, First King, Jing Tiangang, Bailey Lianqing, Zhang Rongrong, Tan Hui, Gao Dazhuang, Bai Xiaomei, Lin Hao, and a person who surprised Chen Hao but was not surprised, Gu Xing, came together. There were 11 of them, and each of them had an extremely powerful aura. All of them were at the peak of the late stage of the Fate Realm. The moment Huyen Aobua and the others flew over, they respectfully bowed to Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei. However, halfway through, their eyes widened as they saw Chen Hao standing beside the 2 venerables. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Boss, it's really boss. Boss, you're finally awake. I've missed you so much. Huyen Aobua directly shook off Meng Xiao and rushed towards Chen Hao with his arms wide open. He was extremely excited. Seeing his brothers and sisters coming over, Chen Hao was originally very happy and excited. However, when he saw Huyen Aobua's affectionate eyes, his excited face, and his hugging posture that was even crazier than his sister, he was shocked. Almost subconsciously, the 1,000 transformation technique suddenly appeared. Therefore, Meng Xiao, who was shaken off by Huyen Aobua, let out a scream. Why am I hugging you? Scram! In front of everyone, in front of Master and Martial Uncle. Damn, I want to hug Boss. Boss, it's been 10 years. When did you wake up? Why didn't you inform us? First King and the others pulled Huyen Aobua aside and came in front of Chen Hao, their expressions agitated. Originally, they were a little worried, but at this moment, Chen Hao had easily toyed with Huyen Aobua, the strongest among them, and had completely disappeared. Boss, our proud heaven. I just woke up and didn't have time to inform you. Let's go. Let's go in first. The competition is about to start. The Guardian Token, Psychic Mirror, and so on needed to be within a certain range to receive information. Unless it was through the Alliance, they could only send information to them at the fastest speed. Chen Hao rushed here as soon as he woke up. How could he make it in time? Isn't the competition a piece of cake for boss? Bailey Lianqing said. That's true. Fang Handong is in the same group as senior brother Chen Hao. My brother will win, Chen Nan said confidently. Han Mei Hall and Yun Wei Hall are here. The moment Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei led Chen Hao and the others to the entrance of the palace, the area where the disciples of Limitless Demon Palace were located immediately locked onto Chen Hao and the others. Which one is Chen Hao? Behind the two senior immortals, beside the two beauties, the one in a blue robe, is he here? Fang Handong, who was sitting at the front of the area, slowly opened his eyes and directly locked onto Chen Hao. Handong, that's Chen Hao. He's still at the early stage of the creation realm, and he's not strong. It's a waste for you to fight against him this time. Otherwise, killing Chen Nan wouldn't be a problem. Master, when the real battle starts, you'll know that I made the right choice. I know Chen Hao better than you do, Fang Handong said calmly. After saying that, he closed his eyes and withdrew his aura to the extreme. It was as if he had entered a special state of cultivation. No one knew that at this moment, in the depths of his heart, a monstrous battle intent had risen to the sky. Everyone thought that Chen Hao was destined to become a good-for-nothing, but he still hadn't made a conclusion. As a sworn enemy, he had been paying attention to all news about Chen Hao all the time. The miracles created by the immortal Tao in the eastern continent had once made him despair. If it weren't for the great opportunity that he had obtained from the Battle of the Three Daos, he didn't know when he would have a chance to defeat Chen Hao. How could such a terrifying opponent fall so easily? Therefore, he wasn't sure. It was also because of this that when he heard that Chen Hao had woken up and was going to participate in the battle, he directly chose Chen Hao. Now, Chen Hao didn't give up and came. What did this mean? Chen Hao knew that he was in the same group as him, and his strength was enough to defeat a human immortal, but he still didn't give up. He didn't think that Chen Hao wanted to die. Even if you have the strength of a human immortal, I'll make you suffer. Kill you? How can I let you die so easily? It's just a physical body. Ha ha. Dongfang Han, who had completely restrained his aura, was howling and venting in the vast space in his mind. Even Chen Hao would be shocked if he saw this space in his mind. It was only 3,000 miles wide, but it was filled with the terrifying will of the inextinguishable sword Tao. Rays of silver sword light shuttled through it, and any one of them could make an expert at the peak of the late-stage manifestation realm unable to resist. However, Dongfang Han's illusory energy body seemed to be a part of the sword Tao space, and wasn't affected at all. It's really him. Very good. While Dongfang Han was howling and venting in his mind, Chen Hao, with Venerable Han Mei's reminder, instantly locked onto Dongfang Han, who was sitting with Fan Suixin, with his powerful soul perception. After more than 20 years, Dongfang Han's appearance had only changed slightly, and Chen Hao recognized him at a glance. You're really strong to be able to restrain your aura to this extent. However, no matter what, you have to die. Chen Hao's eyes flashed with two sharp rays of light, and he closed his eyes. Huyen Aobo and the others wanted to talk to their boss, but no one dared to disturb him at this time. They were more affected by Fang Handong's sudden rise than anyone else, and even they weren't sure if Chen Hao could win against Fang Handong, and who would win in the end. After all, Chen Hao was only at the early stage of the manifestation realm, and Fang Handong was already a half-step human immortal, and also a super demon-like existence. Dong, dong, dong. At the end of the morning, the grand bell rang, and the hall filled with hundreds of thousands of people suddenly became silent. An old man with a 7-colored halo around him appeared out of thin air above the 100 huge arenas, and all the cultivators who came to participate in the preliminaries for the first time widened their eyes in shock. This old man was actually 100 feet tall, and under the 7-colored halo, he was like a god, majestic and inviolable. Even all the venerables present raised their heads respectfully and looked at the old man with respect. The old man's eyes were like 2 flashes of lightning, and wherever they passed, it made people feel as if their souls were being pierced. Chen Hao also opened his eyes at this time. When the old man's eyes swept across their area, Chen Hao said in shock, "What a strong aura, it's many times stronger than Han Mei's and Yun Wei's. It's at least an expert of the heavenly immortal realm, right?" Old man is the deputy dean of the elite academy, Yuanru Tianzuan. In this year's preliminaries, a total of 346,184 people have signed up. After the first round of the free-for-all elimination, only 3,462 people have entered the potential test. Whether or not you can become a disciple of the elite academy depends on yourselves. There's no quota limit, and as long as you reach the minimum potential standard, you can enter. Okay, time's up. Participants of groups 1 to 100, please enter the arena according to your respective arenas. The time limit is 10 minutes, and the one who obtains the token in the end wins. TSK, TSK, TSK. The old man waved his hand and released hundreds of colorful lights, and the 100 arenas opened up instantly, each with a diameter of 500 miles. As for the participants of groups 1 to 100, they instantly turned into streams of light and entered their respective arenas. However, they couldn't get close to the center of the arenas, but appeared at the edge of the arenas according to the position of their name. At the center of the 100 arenas, there was a tower monument that was thousands of feet tall, and a golden token with a diameter of 1 meter was placed on the monument. Any disciple who obtained the token in the end would pass the first round of the test. In fact, this was a battle for the token, and there would only be one winner in the end. It didn't mean that whoever obtained the token first would be the winner, but they had to hold on until the time limit of 10 minutes. If the token was snatched away by others during this time, then there was no other way. Unless you defeated everyone and obtained the token, or the token was in your hands at the last moment, then you would be the winner. This not only required great strength, but also a certain amount of luck. Absolute fairness was simply impossible. Begin. After the participants of the 100 groups were all in position, the old man gave the order, and the battle immediately began. It's mine. Whoever dares to snatch it will die. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the terrifying sound of energy bombarding each other appeared in the arenas. Those who flew slowly, those who attacked quickly, and those who flew at the front were super experts who were confident that they could hold on to the token. They didn't care about the consequences of being besieged by everyone if they obtained the token first. There were also those who were slightly weaker who wanted to preserve their strength and attack later. However, there were very few people like this, because once they obtained the token, it would emit a mysterious protective energy, increasing the defensive power of the person who obtained the token by several times. It was also because of this that the situation where no one dared to snatch the token first was avoided. Otherwise, even if one's strength was several times stronger, they wouldn't be able to withstand the attacks of 100 people. This chapter is yesterday's draft. It's going to be Chinese New Year again. Today, I'm going back to my hometown in Chongqing with my wife. I can't guarantee that there will be a second chapter tonight. If there isn't, please forgive me. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 480. Humph. You want to compete with me? Ha ha. Come at me if you don't want to die. Quick, quick. Attack together. In an instant, the arenas fell into extreme chaos. The 8 immortals crossed the sea, each displaying their divine abilities. The intensity of the battle exceeded the rookies' imaginations. Some of the weaker ones clenched their fists tightly, while the stronger ones felt their blood boil. In the martial arts practice field, the disciples of their respective camps were cheering for their own people. Chaos. In a real chaotic battle, before anyone got a token, everyone was an enemy. Once someone got a token, everyone would join forces to attack. In just 2 minutes, the 100 tokens in the 100 arenas were all obtained by the powerful expert. 5 minutes later, 10 of the experts who got tokens couldn't withstand the terrifying pressure and attacks and had to give up their tokens. However, there were also 2 experts who used their tokens to display even more terrifying strength. They fought against 99 people alone and didn't fall into a disadvantageous position. Time's up. Chi. 7 colored rays of light appeared in the arenas and enveloped the cultivators. Other than the cultivators who had tokens, everyone else was ejected from the arenas. F***ck. I was about to succeed. How come time is up? I'm so angry. Speed. My speed is too slow. Otherwise, it will definitely be mine. Ha ha. I did it. Most of the people who were unwilling and depressed sounded out, while a few of them were laughing excitedly. 1 in 100. In such a crazy chaotic battle, it was definitely exciting to be able to win by luck. Especially those who weren't very strong and only got a token after a few rounds. They were even more excited. Among the 100 arenas, 62 of the people who got tokens first made it to the end. Among these 62 people, only 4 of them were very outstanding. The rest of them had many opponents who were on par with them. It seems that those who got tokens first had a higher chance of winning. The token's protection is quite good. Chen Hao stared at the remaining cultivators in the arenas and thought to himself. From Group 1 to 100, the winners are Limitless Immortal Palaces, Soaring Space Hall's disciple Zhang Qinggong, Azure Dragon Cities Ran Clan's disciple Ran Qibing, Limitless Devil Palaces Sky Wind Hall's disciple Bai Lijian. Immediately after, the old man announced the names of all the disciples one by one. When the announcement was made to Limitless Demon Palaces Sky Wind Palace's disciple Bai Lijian, it caused a huge uproar. The buzzing sound of discussion filled the entire martial arts arena. Obviously, among the 100 groups, the one who performed the best in this round was Bai Lijian. He was the first to obtain the token and the first to defeat all the disciples. 2 minutes before the end of the round, no one dared to approach him. Following them were groups 101 to 200. Cold Plum Hall and Ru Wei Hall also sent 6 disciples onto the stage. Unfortunately, these 6 people had originally come with the intention of participating. After going onto the stage to feel the atmosphere, they gave up on competing. F***ck those sons of bitches. What a bunch of shameless bastards. They even tampered with the groups. Are you trying to bully our limitless immortal palace? F***ck them. Junior brother Zhou, kill them all. Good. Good fight. Hold on. From Group 301 to Group 400, Cold Plum Hall's disciple, who had a chance of passing the elimination round and had obtained one of Chen Hao's spiritual treasures, went onto the stage. The moment the round started, 4 disciples of Limitless Demon Palace with similar cultivation levels attacked this disciple from both sides. They did not even care about the token. Although it was done very discreetly and was not obvious in the chaotic scene, as long as one paid attention, they would be able to see the abnormality. The disciples of Cold Plum Hall and Ru Wei Hall were naturally enraged. However, those who dared to curse out loud were the fearless people like Huyan Aobua, Jing Tiangang, and Bailey Lianqing, who had come to watch the battle. In the past 10 years, although these people had not stepped into the half-step human immortal level, they had already entered the elite academy and experienced countless cruel and bloody trials. They had also developed Proud Heaven into an extremely famous guardian group. A bunch of scum who fawn on the rich and powerful. Isn't he just a genius? Where is the fairness? Where is the justice? Look, look, look. Group 343's arena is really strange. They don't fight for the token but instead attack. Don't you think it's strange? Strange, strange, strange. Huyen Aobua's sarcastic voice resounded in a radius of 1,000 miles. Even if the others were shouting and cheering, they still had to pay attention to their image. After all, this was the main hall where hundreds of thousands of people gathered. Moreover, there were countless immortal primes and even the higher-ups of the elite academy. Everyone had to pay attention to their image. But now, when Immortal Primes Han Mei and Immortal Primes Yun Wei heard Huyen Aobua's nonsense, they wanted to stop him. However, after thinking for a while, they did not say anything. To the higher-ups of the elite academy, this was indeed a trivial matter. To the top experts of the various forces in the boundless continent, it was also a trivial matter. After all, there were hundreds of thousands of people who had signed up for group. It was impossible to cover all aspects. Many times, when a few people happened to know each other or when enemies came together, they would definitely target each other. However, this time, although Immortal Primes Han Mei and Immortal Primes Yun Wei held back and did not report to the Palace Master, they were gnashing their teeth in hatred towards Limitless Demon Palace, Broken Heart Hall, as well as the group members who had been bought over by Fong Handong's strong rise. If they had to pay attention to their identity, why should their own disciples be afraid? Moreover, Huyen Aobua and the rest had performed well in the elite academy. They would not be affected at all. What's going on with Immortal Primes Hall and Immortal Primes Hall? These disciples don't care about their image. Why didn't the two Immortal Primes stop them? Group 343. Some people looked towards the direction of the two halls without hiding anything. There were also some who looked towards the arena of Group 343. Most of the people did not understand what was going on. This was also very normal. After all, the central continent was vast and boundless. Most of the time, there were no interactions at all. Those who knew about the hatred between Immortal Primes Hall, Immortal Primes Hall, and the 5 halls of Limitless Demon Palace were only some forces that were not too far away. Stop shouting. At this moment, what everyone did not expect was that Chen Hao actually stopped them. Boss. Just shout when you encounter a match. Shout like you did just now. You have a total of 47 matches. If you shout too much, it will cause public anger. Chen Hao said telepathically. 47 matches. As long as you are not a fool, you will naturally know that they have done something. That's true. Next, out of the 47 disciples who had a chance, 7 of them were defeated by the opponent's shameless alliance. However, with their spiritual treasures and cautiousness, especially with Huyen Aobua and the rest shouting and mocking, the people of Limitless Demon Palace had no choice but to restrain themselves. This was because if it happened once or twice, everyone would treat it as a coincidence. If it happened 3 or 4 times, they would still treat it as a coincidence. But what if it happened 5 or 6 times? At the 5th time, even the heavenly immortal realm expert who was hosting the competition noticed it. Moreover, his gaze was locked onto the arena where Huyen Aobua and the rest were shouting. As if warning them, he glanced at the direction of the 5 halls of Limitless Demon Palace and Heartbroken Hall. This made Fan Suixin and the rest of the instigators so angry that they almost vomited blood. This old man was the Vice Dean of Elite Academy Ek. How would they dare to be impudent? They could only suppress their anger and quietly instruct the disciples who were on the next mission to restrain themselves. They did not dare to show any signs that were too obvious. However, in the following matches, Huyen Aobua and the rest were still shouting. However, they changed to mocking lines. They pointed out a few names and expressed that the dogs did not dare to bite people anymore. After more than 10 times in a row, even a fool could tell that the grouping this time had been tampered with. B****, an old man who represented the organization of Elite Academy X. His expression became extremely ugly. This is too much. Our elite academy is the sacred place of the entire central mainland. How could we be manipulated into a place to settle private fights? Who gave them the guts? The few of you, lock up all the people who were in charge of the grouping this time. Wait for orders. Yes. Also, record all the groups that have such a situation. Yes. Ha ha ha. This bunch of dogs dare not be arrogant anymore. Boss, do you still want to shout? Shout. As long as there is a group that has tampered with it, shout them out. All right. Phew. For succeeded. 6. After the other side no longer dared to join forces to block the disciples of Winter Plum Hall and Ru Wei Hall, of the 9 people who appeared later, with the spirit treasures bestowed by Chun Hao in their own strength, 6 of them successfully obtained the command medallion. This made Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei smile. They could not help but sigh. Crooked people had crooked tricks and the results were so good. Xiao Nan, Xiao Yen, do your best. Finally, when it was the 1801st to 1900th group, Chun Nan and Chun Yen appeared at the same time. Chun Hao and the rest cheered them on. Yes. So what if all of them come up together? Brother, watch me. Chi. Chun Nan's eyes were filled with strong confidence. After speaking, he and Chun Yen flew towards their respective arenas. Chun Hao looked at the 2 of them flying towards their arenas. He was actually a little nervous. His younger brother and sister had become experts in the manifestation realm in the blink of an eye. Moreover, each of them had displayed amazing talent. This feeling made Chun Hao feel warm in his heart. Especially when he thought of how the 2 of them had clung to him when he was young, there was a kind of warmth flowing in his heart. Chun Hao did not realize that he was only a few years older than his younger siblings. In fact, ever since he had stepped onto the path of cultivation, he did not have much time to interact with his younger siblings. Most of his memories were of the difficult times when they did not even have enough to eat. Boss, don't worry. Xiao Nan and Xiao Yan's talent and combat strength are quite amazing. Especially Xiao Nan. She has your style. Those idiots don't dare to join forces. No one can stop them. I forbid them from using their spiritual treasures. Chen Hao smiled faintly and said softly. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 481. Equipment and weapons were also a type of strength. In the world of cultivation there was basically no prohibition. Even the elite academy's qualifiers were no exception. Boss, isn't it a little too strict? This is the elite academy's qualifiers. Entering 1 year earlier means 1 year earlier access to the elite academy's training environment. Huyen Aobo said. Yes, boss, we know that you are afraid that we will become dependent on the spiritual treasures. But the elite academy's qualifiers are important. Who doesn't give their all? Some people are even willing to pay the price to borrow equipment and weapons. Lin Hao said. When Chun Hao had given them the spiritual treasure set, he had also told them that they were not allowed to use it unless they were in a life and death situation. But in the eyes of the crowd, the importance of this qualifier was no less than a life and death situation test. As students of the Elite Academy, they knew very well how important the Elite Academy's training conditions were to the cultivators. It's only 1 year. To a cultivator, the most important thing is not the training environment, but the state of mind and mentality. Training one's will, spirit and soul is the key. Especially this kind of competition, it is the best opportunity to train one's state of mind. In my opinion, the significance of this is far greater than passing the qualifiers. If one wins with their own strength, the rewards obtained will be incomparable to winning with the spiritual treasures. Begin. While Chun Hao and the others were communicating telepathically, Huyen Aobo and the rest did not forget about the official business. Before the competition officially started, the arena where Chun Nan and Chun Yen were in had become the focus of everyone's attention. Boom! As the restrictions at the edge of the arena were lifted, Chun Nan's body emitted a violent and fierce aura. He suddenly turned into a ray of light and rushed towards the token at a terrifying speed. Want to snatch it from me? Dream on! Boom, boom, boom! The arena instantly fell into a chaotic battle. So what if the other four are not blocking? With my strength, I can still get the token. As long as you dare to snatch it, I will have the chance to kill you. With my own strength, who can say anything? As long as I can kill you, I will receive a huge reward. At the same time, in the arena where Chen Yen was, a figure also displayed incomparable strength from the start. Chun Nan and Chun Yen were far more important than the other disciples of Cold Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall. In the beginning, Chun Hao had arranged for Fong Handong to take care of Chun Nan. But because of Chun Hao's appearance, they changed the arrangement. And now, the strongest opponents arranged for the two of them were the two strongest among the 5 great halls of the limitless demon palace other than Fong Handong. There were 2 reasons for this. Firstly, they were the younger brother and sister of Chun Hao, whom they hated the most. Secondly, the talent they displayed at such a young age was also very shocking. How could they, who were already mortal enemies with Winter Plum Hall and Ru Wei Hall, allow 2 monstrous geniuses to grow? However, so fast! How is this possible? After a while, the cultivators who were paying attention to the 2 arenas cried out in surprise. Chun Nan and Chun Yen, who were only in the middle stage of the manifestation realm, actually displayed a speed that completely surpassed their realm when they charged towards the center of the arena. The cultivators beside and behind them did not even have time to attack before the 2 of them turned into 2 wisps of green smoke and left the dust behind them. Even Venerable Immortal Han Mei, Venerable Immortal Yunwei, and the others who knew Chun Nan and Chun Yen were slightly surprised. Chun Nan seemed to be violent, but he had used the profundity of his strength to an extremely high level. His body moved forward in a straight line, and he used the force of his opponent's force to divert his opponent's force. He used the force of his opponent's force to the minute realm within a narrow range. On the other hand, Chun Yan's entire person seemed to have turned into a dreamy butterfly in an instant. He fluttered around the arena, but the speed of his advance was spiraling and was not inferior to Chun Nan's at all. The token is mine. Chun Nan and Chun Yen, who were on the 2 arenas, grabbed the huge token almost at the same time. No one can take it away from me. Brother, watch my performance. The moment Chun Nan held the token, his entire body shone with a bright golden light. Brother, I will definitely not disappoint you. Chun Nan and Chun Yan's faces shone with strong fighting spirit and pride. It was as if a small universe had exploded. Even they themselves felt an unprecedented power. This was Chun Hao's first time watching them fight. Since they were young, Chun Hao was their idol. Whether it was Chun Nan or Chun Yen, at this moment, they felt as if they were being inspected by their brother. How could they not be excited? Under this state of mind, the 2 of them exploded with power that was far beyond their imagination. Good. Not bad. Venerable Immortal Han Mei and Venerable Immortal Yunwei could not help but exclaim in admiration. In the 2 halls, the disciples who were familiar with Chun Nan and Chun Yen widened their eyes in surprise. How did they suddenly become so strong? Fortunately, Chun Hao's lips curled into a smile as he looked at his younger brother and sister. Let's see if they can last until the time limit. He is only at the middle stage of the creation realm. How can he be so fast? Kill. Everyone, let's kill him together. A middle stage creation realm cultivator wants to get the token? Dream on. Kill. 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 At this moment, the two leading experts from Limitless Demon Palace on the two arenas were furious. Both of their goals were to obtain the tokens. Moreover, for the candidates who passed the selection, each of them had 4 people to fight against Chen Nan and Chen Yen. According to the original plan, the other 8 people were to block Chen Nan and Chen Yen respectively. Their goal was to get the token first. When Chen Nan, Chen Yen, and the other cultivators began to fight for the token, it would be the time for the 5 of them to attack. But now, the token had been obtained by the other party. You think you can stop me with just you idiots? Get lost. Chi chi chi. Chen Nan waved his sword coldly. Under the boost of the token's protective golden light, his attacks were violent and ferocious. As for Chen Yen, she was still the complete opposite of Chen Nan. Her graceful and petite body was like a weeping willow swaying in the wind, and her entire body emitted a gentle aura. Shockingly, it was the soft sword Dao that had extremely strong defensive capabilities. Not bad in the void, Deputy Dean Heavenly Venerable Yuanru, who was in charge of hosting the competition, paid attention to the 2 arenas after Huyan Albua and the others routinely called out the group numbers and the names of the tampers. At this moment, when he saw the strength displayed by Chen Nan and Chen Yen, who were only at the middle stage of the creation realm, he could not help but praise them in his heart. Why does this little fellow look so familiar? Strange. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru frowned slightly when he saw Chen Nan's appearance. Could it be that old man and this little fellow are fated? At Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's level of cultivation, he would not forget anything. The people he met and the various things he experienced would appear clearly in his mind unless he could block out some useless and jumbled memories. Heavenly Venerable Yuanru was sure that he had never seen Chen Nan before. It was also because of this that he attributed this feeling of familiarity to the illusory fate. If the 2 of them join forces, one of them is extremely hard while the other is extremely soft, they will definitely be able to display an even more powerful strength. Most people couldn't see any clues at all, and they wouldn't connect the 2 people on the 2 arenas together. However, an expert in the heavenly immortal realm like the Vice Dean instantly caught the profundities of the 2 people's ultimate technique. These 2 ultimate techniques are practically tailor-made for the 2 of them. Could it be that they created their own ultimate techniques? It shouldn't be with their cultivation realm, they definitely can't do it. Could it be that there was an expert tailor-made for the 2 of them? Wuji Celestial Palaces, Yun Wei Hall. Chen Nan and Chen Yen, twin siblings, from the Eastern Continent, from the Eastern Continent's immortal Tao secular world. Could it be, after the Deputy Dean merged a wisp of divine thought into the controller's token, he instantly understood the identity and information of the 2 people. After seeing all of Chen Nan's information, Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's eyes flashed with shock. It must be. Wuji Celestial Palace's Winter Plum Hall and Yunwei Hall's providence has been shining in recent years, and geniuses have gathered. I see, a figure that had disappeared more than 100 years ago appeared in Heavenly Venerable Yuanru's mind. It was a figure that once caused the top experts of the entire boundless continent to treat with great respect, and no one dared to provoke it. Time's up. Deputy Dean Yuanru's majestic voice rang out. Haha, we won. Little Nan, Little Yen, good job. Junior brother Chen Nan, junior sister Chen Yen, congratulations. After Chen Nan and Chen Yen obtained the tokens, they were actually unscathed in the face of all the cultivators' attacks and fights after being besieged and fought over. Judging by the looks of it, let alone 10 minutes, even if it was another 10 minutes, they would still be able to hold on. However, the 2 of them were restricted by their realms. Even with the protection of the token's golden light, the offensive power they displayed was ultimately limited. They were unable to defeat all the cultivators within a time limit like other true experts, and did not dare to approach. Master, martial uncle, brother. When Chen Nan and Chen Yen returned, there was a hint of unconcealable joy on their faces. They quickly moved to Chen Hao's side, looking as if they were waiting for his praise. Even the cold Chen Nan was no exception. Did father teach you these? Chen Hao asked through voice transmission. Yes, brother. Father said that these two ultimate techniques will gradually evolve as our realms increase if little Yen and I work together. But he only taught us the Blessed Realm technique. He said that in the future, we will have to rely on ourselves to understand them. Chen Nan said. Not bad. Chen Hao said. It's a pity that you haven't truly understood Father's intentions. You're too rigid on the form, and you've lost the charm of these two ultimate techniques. You can only unleash their greatest power if you work together. But in reality, you can completely rely on yourselves to execute them. Brother! Chen Yan had thought that she would receive her brother's praise, but she did not expect Chen Hao to dismiss her with just a not bad. Brother, we'll work hard. Father also said that we can barely be considered to have truly comprehended the 19th style if we can create it on our own. Yes. If it's too hard, it'll break easily, and if it's too soft, it'll lose its power. Your 19th style should be where extreme hardness turns to softness, and extreme softness turns to hardness. Only then can your power truly increase. When you can combine both hardness and softness, it'll be time for you to truly display your power. I just returned to my wife's hometown, and I have a lot of social engagements to attend to. Dark Mountain can only try his best to continue updating, but it's hard for me to guarantee that I'll be able to complete 2 chapters. There's really no other way. To be continued. If you like this work, I welcome you to come to Chidian. Come and vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.